Welcome to Nick and Dave Deep Dive the Metaverse, a podcast exploring cult classics, subculture, and geek media. I'm Nick.
And I'm Dave.
And we will be your tour guides for this deep dive of the Wachowskis' 1999 post-apocalyptic philosophical sci-fi martial arts film, The Matrix.
This is a fucking banger. I'm super glad we got to this because we've had a dry spell for a little bit from me.
For you, yeah. I liked the last two movies, but you didn't.
But this one is right up there with top tier science fiction movies.
I said this when we did our Matrix Resurrections podcast, and I'll say it again. I think this is a perfect film.
All right, episode over.
Yeah. But you know, I'm glad we got the chance to go back and do this one because even though I did really enjoy Resurrections, I kept thinking all through that, you know, I'd rather talk about the original Matrix.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I'm glad this we got a reason to come and visit this.
Yeah, this one brought back so many memories just going through it, just because I've watched it so many times and there's so many quotable lines. And it's such a good movie. In my prep for this, I did a little bit of, I won't call it deep diving, I'll call it shallow diving or snorkeling.
Free diving.
About the whole, this story was written by someone else. And I can't remember her name, and I'm not going to give her any publicity either because she lost both of her lawsuits. Even though they tried to give her $4 million go away money, she wouldn't take it, and she then claimed that's a moral victory. But I mean, this movie made like almost $500 million. There's no victory there. It's just leave us the fuck alone money. Yeah. Less than 1%.
Well, and it's, you know, it's a movie that wears its many influences on its sleeve.
Oh, yeah, a million.
It practically, I mean, there's like references to Akira and Ghost in the Shell, like within the first seconds of the movie.
Neuromancer throughout.
Yeah.
This is not a movie that is trying to veil any influences.
Yeah, it doesn't hide its influences, and it is greater than the sum of its parts because it's got so many layers to it. Yeah. So, you know, even though like so many plot elements, you know, the last episode was Dark City, many plot elements and themes are repeated here, but with more. Like it's not a copy of any other film. Yeah, and the lady, she also sued Terminator and Terminator 2
because the whole premise behind her novel is that it's the machines defeat the humans, and then there's a human resistance, etc. Yeah. So sure, that's Terminator, that's Matrix. You know, it's not, that's a broad concept. That's not that's not someone stealing your story.
That's a seed, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's a germ of an idea.
All zombie movies belong to Mary Shelley's estate or whatever. You know?
Right,
it's
sure.
Doesn't make sense.
Harlan Ellison sued for Terminator 2, and he actually got a credit. So okay. I think James Cameron probably took more from him than this person who we're not naming.
Yeah, I you know, it's not just I just don't remember her name. When I read through, I just was like, wow, everything's been debunked. I guess this is a non-story. So I wanted to put that urban legend to rest.
Right.
Because I really didn't know. And I thought there was some truth to it because they offered her money, etc. But we know that that's just common practice in the corporate world because it's cheaper than litigation.
Oh, yeah. Warner Brothers has deep pockets, so they can just fork it out.
And yeah, so this movie's great. It's firmly cyberpunk. This is real cyberpunk. This isn't Alien Ant Farm. This isn't any of that other nonsense.
You know, watching this, I kind of regretted, not just because you didn't like it, but I regretted swapping out Ghost in the Shell for 12 Monkeys because I'd like to see it in the arc, you know, because it's part of the DNA of this movie.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it would have been nice if we had covered it in this series. Like it would have fit nicely, even though it'd be a rehash.
I think once we get past our 200th episode, we need to go back and revisit some of the
early classics,
because we're in the mid 50s now. So we're a real grown up podcast. We're not, but maybe when we're like an old man podcast, we can go and do some rehashes.
The Kaiju Cast did that. They went back and redid a bunch of the early episodes after,
Getting
became
good.
Getting good at the craft. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if we're quite there yet.
No, I think
competent.
I think we're journeymen. Maybe when we're master podcasters, like when we're like Mark Maron, we can go back and do some revisiting. But I don't want to talk too much more about this movie because I have a feeling this deep dive is going to be a pretty big deep dive. I'll just give the budget information because I always do. It was made for $63 million, and it made in the box office $467 million. So it was a smash.
Yeah.
Not to mention critical acclaim, 3 sequels, and video games, graphic novels, toys. It captured the zeitgeist of the world, kind of like Batman did the first one. How it was just everywhere.
Yeah, and it changed action movies forever.
Yeah. It was so good. Like when I was watching this, I was just like, oh my God, we have to watch John Wick because the Keanu fight scenes and gun fu and all that. It's like, it was just like innovation, and bullet time was innovated for this. It was created. I love how they do that with the cameras swinging all around the scene. It's so amazing.
It's very low tech and looks very high tech. Like
exactly.
It looks revolutionary, but it's just a bunch of still cameras.
Yeah, they like pulled Zoetrope technology.
Totally.
It's pretty rad.
Yeah, and since you mentioned John Wick, I'll just say Keanu Reeves' stuntman in this movie and in several other movies is the director of John Wick. So there's that would be Chad Stahelski. So there's more than just the Keanu connection here.
So he's a real Chad.
He's a real Chad, and he plays Chad in Matrix Resurrections too.
All right, so that's perfect. So that's awesome.
So should we roll for initiative?
I guess we should. I don't have a dice handy, so we'll just double up on yours.
Okay. Got 7.
And I got a 9, so I'll go first.
Okay.
All right, so this is kind of a double header because it's related. House of the Dragon wrapped up.
Okay.
And it was dope. Like the last episode, what'd you think?
Yes. I liked the last episode. I felt like it ended sort of not anticlimactically, but
unless you wanted more.
It left off as though there was at least one more episode this season. That's how I felt.
Okay, I think they were intentionally trying to leave you hungry.
Yeah.
But like that scene where Vagar flies over Arax with the silhouette is so scary.
It is so scary.
It's just horror. I'm like, oh my God, you're fucked.
Yeah, man, it's not surprising anyone. I have big feels about dragons, and I sort of hate the Dance of Dragons for stuff like this.
Because they fight.
Because so many dragons die, and I just like, won't someone think of the dragons? Like, I really hate the dragons killing each other.
Speaking of dragons, I love with Damon going down into the dragon pit and singing to Vermithor.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this scene is art. It's so good. Like, Matt Smith is a hell of an actor.
Matt Smith is great. Paddy Considine was great.
Oh, he was perfect as King Viserys.
Yeah, both sets of girls were wonderful.
Queen Rhaenys, the Queen Who Never Was.
Oh yeah,
just the casting on that show, it was just so sick.
I think ultimately it didn't. I didn't bump up against it because I'm familiar with the world and everything.
Read the book.
Yeah, but the time jumps I think are hard for civilians to deal with.
Yeah. So the second half of my my little news thing is George R. R. Martin did a sit down interview. It's on the Penguin Random House YouTube channel.
Yeah.
It's like an hour and 15 minutes, or you can watch. They have it snipped up into little like bite size 8 to 12 minute pieces. And it's really cool. He talks about all these different things about the show, but also because they just released a new coffee table book, Blood of the Dragon. I think that's what it's called. I don't have it yet.
It's an art book.
Yeah, it's an art book with new information and captions. Basically, like all the sidebar stuff is all fresh, and it's all more deep dive into House Targaryen. It's very specifically a Targaryen book about their dragons and stuff.
It's like a supplement to Blood and Fire, though, right?
Exactly,
like it's not like a full-on history book. It's a picture book.
Yeah, it's meant to be an art book. So I don't have it yet. I've got it on my Christmas list, if you're listening out there, divers,
or Santa,
or Santa Claus. So George talked about a ton of things, and I'm such a sucker for this world. Like I just sit there and like rapt attention, and I'm like agreeing with him or disagreeing. But
was this the sit down with him and Neil Gaiman talking to each other?
No.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of the interviewer. His name's David something. He's also an author for Penguin Random House, and he writes historical fiction, and George is a big fan. So he was a good interviewer and an informed reader. So he got asked a bunch of, they had fan questions and stuff, but then they gave a bunch of would you rathers. And I figure I'm going to pit these, I'm going to give you these, and then I'll tell you what I said and what George said.
Okay, cool.
It'd be fun.
Yeah.
All right. So would you rather be a maester of the Citadel or a member of the King's Guard?
Maester, all the way.
All right. What do you think George said?
I think, he's a maester.
Yeah, he said he wants to read books and write books all day long, every day. So that's literally what he does for his life. I said King's Guard, but then second, I mean, it's more like I would want to be a knight, but those guys are like, their night job sucks. Like they're standing guard all the time. So if I was really giving it a deep think, I'd probably be a maester.
Yeah.
Given that I'm a history guy and I love reading and writing. So
yeah, because if you're in the Kingsguard, it's like you're standing outside like the orphan fights while Aegon is in there.
Yeah. Like imagine like when Jonathan O'Darry and Jaime Lannister are standing guard outside when King Aerys, the Mad King, is brutalizing his wife, and they can't do anything about it.
Yeah, Kingsguard's
gnarly.
Yeah,
and Jaime says to Jonathan, "We're supposed to protect her too," and he just callously says, "Not from him." It's dark. Anyway, that's a deep cut.
A deep cut spousal abuse.
Well, and it shows Jaime Lannister's humanity. He's not a monster. He just does bad things sometimes. Anyway, okay, next question. Would you rather have a dragon or a direwolf?
Oh, geez. Now, that's a really tough one because I've got two competing ideologies here.
Sure.
Because I'm team mammal in most cases.
Sure.
But then
flying around on a dragon
is pretty damn cool. But you get into that situation with Vermax not listening to you and eating the other dragon.
Just does his own thing. I mean,
Vagar. Is it Vagar?
Vagar eats Arax.
Okay. Yeah. I'm mixing so many.
You're just mixing names up. Yeah, there's like a million dragons. Yeah. I don't know all their names.
Direwolf's by a nose. It's a close one.
What do you think George said?
I bet he said the same thing.
He went back and forth just like you did, but I think he ended up with dragon simply because he wants to fly so bad. But I go with direwolf just like you. I would love to fly. I would love to burninate the villages, but I want a direwolf that can hang out with me and live with me and go around with me. And dogs are nicer than dragons.
That's basically it. It's like the dire wolf, like
it will love you,
and it will like hang on the couch, not in a pit somewhere.
Yeah, the dragon will outlive you. That's a given.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question. This one was geared really towards George Martin because he's a big football fan.
Okay.
It was, who would you rather have on this on your favorite football team, the Hound or the Mountain? Have as a player.
Oh, geez. Neither one of them would be a good player.
They're both big, badass, athletic dudes.
I know, and they're like 1970s Pittsburgh Steelers, sort of like they're out to injure people sort of players.
Yeah.
Probably the Mountain. Because the Hound is just not a good team player.
And the Mountain is?
The Mountain, I can see.
He does have a team, I guess. He has his dudes.
Yeah. So
okay, what do you think George said?
I think George probably went Hound.
George went Hound. He said the Mountain would cheat, and he would get you too many penalties.
I think that's
He'd
both
put
of them.
people's eyes out. And so I agreed with George. I went with the Hound. And I think even though the Mountain is huge, the Hound is formidable.
Yeah.
So he'd be good. All right. Who would you rather have as your Hand of the King? Tywin Lannister or Otto Hightower?
Tywin Lannister.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tywin is
he's kind of a threat though. Tywin's powerful in his own right. Otto, not so much.
Tywin Lannister is like lawful evil, and Otto Hightower is neutral evil. Yeah. And so like Tywin Lannister is more dependable. Like a steady king and Tywin Lannister would get shit done.
Oh, 100%.
Whereas Otto Hightower is always like working the king.
Yeah, he'll replace your heir. He'll replace your king's guard.
Yeah.
He'll fuck you up. All right. George and I both agree with you.
Okay.
Yeah. Tywin's the pick. He's more competent. I think he just gets shit done. He's a general.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good thing because I'm not a general, so I need someone to fight my wars for me.
He's not crazy. Like he's not crazy, and he's
not super selfish.
Yeah, exactly. Like I mean, he is selfish, but not the same way that Otto is. Otto is like a different kind of self-serving selfish.
Yeah. All right, and this is the last one.
Okay.
How would you rather die? Freeze beyond the wall or burn to death in Dragonfire?
Well, in Dragonfire, see, okay. That's quicker than just burning to death like trapped in a house fire.
Oh, yeah, because it's Dragonfire.
Yeah, because
you get to see a dragon.
And you get to see a dragon, yeah. So, if it was just between fire or freezing, I'll choose freezing because it's the less painful way. But I think Dragonfire, because of the expedience of it, it can win out.
What do you think George picked?
I think he probably said fire also.
Nah, he said freeze beyond the wall just because it hurts less.
Okay.
And I say the same thing. I mean, freezing, you just go numb and fall asleep and die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's not as bad. So that's my news item. It's pretty long, but it's fun.
So that was just, so you just had the one,
just
basically?
did the mega thing. No, I have one more that's more just kind of a footnote thing.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I got two obituaries to lead off with.
All right,
One just happened today.
Oh, shit.
Jerry Lee Lewis, the killer, passed away at 87.
Jerry Lee Lewis.
He was like basically the last guy of the rockabilly era. He was the last one still alive.
Yeah.
And now we're down to 0 OG rockers.
Oh, yeah.
I know
that's true.
Jerry Lee Lewis is a controversial figure on account of, marrying his 13-year-old cousin when he was 22, which is very gross. And
it's very Game of Thrones of it.
It's very Game of Thrones, yeah. But his contribution to music is undeniable, regardless of his quality of character.
Yeah, he's like a real Varg Vikernes.
Sure, yeah, definitely on the same level.
A murdering racist.
I wouldn't be surprised at all if Jerry Lee Lewis was a murdering racist. And then the other obituary, relevant to the podcast, especially one of our early episodes, is Jules Bass, also passed away at 87. That's one half of Rankin Bass.
Oh, no. Big fan.
Yeah, they produced, of course, all the stop motion Christmas specials from the 60s.
Those are fun.
And then the Japanese animated fantasy cartoons that we grew up on in the 80s.
I love all of them.
Yeah. Flight of Dragons, The Last Unicorn, The Hobbit, Return of the King.
I love every single one of those.
Yeah. Foundational nerd shit for us.
Yeah, 100%.
So R.I.P. Jules Bass. That's a tougher loss than The Killer was.
Yeah. There's a lot of really great musicians out there, but there's only one Rankin Bass.
Yeah. They really, they're instrumental in bringing anime to America.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think they quite get their due for it because they really pioneered that.
Yeah, that's amazing stuff.
What's your next one?
All right, so Elon Musk finally closed a deal on Twitter.
Boo.
First thing he does, he fires several of executives, names himself CEO, and announces he's forming a moderation council to deal with all the bans and all that stuff because he wants it to be like free speech town square.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone can say whatever they want behind the anonymity of a random screen name.
Oh boy.
So, I mean, I think that there's something to say for free speech, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm just wondering if it's a good idea to unban someone like Donald Trump, who was using it as a vehicle to incite violence on January 6th.
I guess we'll find out. You know,
will he even come back?
He has his own
thing, but it has like basically tiny usership. The only time anyone knows what he's posting on his thing is when Stephen Colbert makes fun of him in his monologue.
Yeah. Well, and everything that Trump posts on Parler or whichever site he uses
is also put on his website or whatever.
Well, and it's screen grabbed and put up on Twitter by every news site.
By a bunch of bots and stuff.
Yeah. So it's, whatever. Evil rich guy buys company. All the social media companies are owned by despicable people.
Always have been.
Yeah, always have been and always will be. I wish we didn't use them, but I get up and check Twitter every morning, and that'll probably not change.
You know what? I think we should just delete our Twitters. We should join.
Diver Lance would never know what we were doing. That's
true.
It's almost like our deep dive, the meta Twitter, is just for communicating with Lance.
Well, that's not a terrible thing then. We better keep it. So I just thought this was interesting because it's flapped up a lot of skirts. It's pissed a lot of people off. Some people love it because they think it's a victory for free speech. And capitalism, and because basically it's like if you don't like what they're doing, just buy it and fix it. So he's putting his money where his mouth is.
Sure.
So we'll see.
We'll see how this plays out.
I'm pretty sure almost nothing will change.
I think so. I think there'll just be more racist content.
Sure.
But there was plenty to begin with.
Yeah, there's always racist content. People can just make new accounts.
Right.
All right, so what else you got?
So I got, after, much speculation on this subject, it's finally official. Henry Cavill is back as Superman.
Yes, I was wondering if you're going to choose that.
Yeah, he's in the post-credit sting at the end of Black Adam, which I've never seen a movie where all of the hype around the movie was about the sting. It's like if you watched Iron Man because you're such a big Sam Jackson fan. It's totally like that. Like, Black Adam's a aggressively mediocre movie.
Oh, okay.
But people
Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay.
But it's very skippable. But people, like the guy in front of me, nearly jumped out of his seat when Henry Cavill came on the screen.
Did he not expect it?
No, he knew it was. He was ready. He was ready to jump for it. Yeah, he was so stoked. So people are stoked about this.
Who's a bigger star, Henry Cavill or The Rock?
Oh, The Rock's probably the biggest movie star in the world.
You think so?
Yeah, I think he's.
I don't know, man. I think Keanu, like
Keanu's
everything he does crushes.
Keanu is up there. There's only a handful of people.
I mean, so even as much as I don't really like him, Tom Cruise, everything he does.
Tom Cruise is big. You have to think when you're talking movie stars. These people like international draw.
Sure. The Rock has a huge draw.
The Rock is massive. Rock movies sell in every country in the world. I think Keanu, Tom Cruise, they're also kind of in that realm.
In that caliber.
Yeah.
And maybe if that's like the super A-list, Cavill is, I wouldn't call him a B-lister. He's definitely an A-lister.
He's like an A-list star. Like he's an A-list star, but he's not an international movie star the way The Rock is.
In Europe, in America, he's gigantic.
Yeah, he's The Witcher. And he's Superman. That's big.
I was gonna say he's Superman, and then he's The Witcher.
He's Superman. Then he was The Witcher for a long time, and he's back to Superman. And then also part of that big shakeup is finally they got someone to head the DC division of Warner Brothers.
Oh.
So DC Studios is now officially co-CEO'd by director James Gunn and producer Peter Safran.
James Gunn. I thought that guy got drummed out of movies or whatever. Didn't he get canceled or something?
He was briefly canceled. Marvel fired him from the Guardians movies, and then he was quickly scooped up by Warner Brothers and did the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, and basically brought great success to them. Marvel also brought him back, so he's got the Guardians 3 coming there, and he's CEO of what's now called DC Studios over at Warner Brothers.
You know, I would rather have another season of Peacemaker than another Guardians movie.
I don't agree with that.
Peacemaker's so good.
Peacemaker's so good, but that's not a choice we have to make because we're getting both of those
that's
things.
That's true. John Cena, amazing.
Yeah. And have you seen the trailer for the Guardians holiday special?
No, I haven't.
It's hilarious.
Oh.
Like,
I mean, those movies are comedies.
Absolutely exceeded my.
I mean,
I had
did
no
they
expectation.
Have all the main characters like Drax and all that. Okay.
Yeah, and they're kidnapping Kevin Bacon.
Oh shit!
and it's really funny. Like,
and they get Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, it's really Kevin Bacon. So yeah, if you want to see Drax the Destroyer chasing Kevin Bacon around Hollywood, it's pretty magical.
Okay, you got me.
Yeah, so I think this is good. I'm pro creative people being in charge of a movie studio.
I'm pro competition.
Yeah.
We need better shit. We need Marvel to stop putting out 3-star movies.
Yeah.
We need them to need quality. We need more like Iron Man 1, you know.
Oh yeah, totally. And so I think this is good. It's been a captainless ship for too long, or they had a bad captain. Hamada was a bad captain. Hamada was the big roadblock in bringing Henry Cavill back.
Wow. Who would not want Cavill? The best Superman ever.
Bitter, petty people didn't want Cavill because he wasn't team player enough for them.
Oh, he wouldn't let them own him?
Yeah. Without getting too much into the politics of it, basically, he wouldn't show up to shoot an unpaid cameo at the drop of a hat without renegotiating his contract. And they're like, well, how about if you never work again?
Oh, yeah. Never work again. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Because I am firmly on the fuck you, pay me plan. Mm-hmm. Same thing with my job. They want me to come in after hours. Pay me.
Right.
I do not do shit for free. I'm a professional, not a volunteer.
So that's my take on it. I guess I could be biased, but that's how I read what happened. And so I'm glad the old management's out. New management is pro-creative.
And I hope that guy never works again. How dare he threaten Henry Cavill?
Billionaires only fall up.
Is that guy a billionaire?
I don't know.
He's at least a millionaire.
Yeah, he's a multi-millionaire.
Many times over.
Probably not a billionaire.
There's not a lot of those. I mean, there's probably a few hundred in the world, but
yeah,
that's an elite club.
Very much so. Yeah, that's good. I mean, there's a new brewery opening in Portland called TPK Brewing.
Like Total Party Kill?
Yeah.
It's a nerd brewery? Oh,
it's a nerd.
Shit.
It's a role-playing themed brewery, brew pub, where the people that run the brew pub run games.
Oh, shit.
And so there will be gaming in there, but it's not, you don't have to be role-playing to go be there, but it's a gaming space. There's private rooms for gaming. There's public spaces for gaming. And it's also going to be a cool brew pub. The head brewer is coming from stints at Von Ebert and Oregon City Brewing.
Okay.
So she knows her stuff. And it's going to have Hawaiian food, courtesy of Hapa Howie's and Barcata PDX. And so I'm stoked on this, and I figured this would be
win.
Yeah, this seemed up your alley too.
Yeah, I wonder where it's at. Like if it's in like a hard to get to place.
I doubt it.
That's always my luck. Like something cool will open and it'll be in like Tigard or Hillsboro. Yeah. Like fuck.
No, I don't think so. I didn't capture the address to put in my notes here, but
no
it
worries.
It seemed like it was just central Portland. Yeah.
Cool. All right, so let's go ahead and get into our podcast fuel. What do we got?
We are drinking Non-Duality from Imagination Brewing out of Missoula, Montana. It's a New England IPA, uses a hop combo of 7 pounds per barrel of Nelson Sauvin, Strata, Motueka, and Citra T90 Cryo hops. It's creamy, unbelievably smooth on the palate, and waves of passion fruit, gooseberry, and zesty lime. 7.3 ABV and 0 IBUs listed.
Yeah, I was going to say there's no bitterness. This is a 0 IBU beer.
Yeah. It's good though. I like it.
Yeah, it's definitely very it's like people who hate IPAs they could drink this.
Yeah, because it is like this passion fruit and gooseberry and lime. Those are what you're tasting much more than the boatload of hops that are in there.
Also, those people that are like, I hate IPAs. It tastes like blah. It's like
pine needles.
Come on, there's a million kinds. It
just takes a little effort of trying multiples and figuring out.
It's like saying, I hate pizza. Okay, dude.
It is a lot like that. There's as many kinds of pizza as there is IPAs. And then thematically, Morpheus describes non-duality to Neo at multiple points in the movie. So I just thought that was on point.
This is really, this is good. This is on point and the good beer. So we're good to go.
Cool.
So let's take a short break and then we'll come back and do a real quick deep dive.
Welcome back, divers. Let's dive into The Matrix, 1999, The Wachowskis.
So when I went and saw this originally in the theater, I wasn't sure what to expect, and I think the opening number crawl with the green numbers, and all you hear is Trinity and Cypher's voices talking. And then you have kind of a cool opening graphic sequence.
Right.
I was like, I didn't know this was, it was going to be like this. Like, it started off, in my opinion, kind of like somber and chill.
Yeah.
Whereas all the previews on TV or whatever were like just Neo dodging bullets.
Right.
Like, so you're just thinking like, oh shit, this is just like fucking latex fight scenes.
Yeah, cool graphics and
the whole
fights.
thing. And so it's just like, oh man, we have these old school green numbers like from the old computers, and we have these people talking, and then you have like some cool computer animation, and I was just like thinking, okay, this is going to be cool. It's not just a flash in the pan.
Yeah. I remember being kind of immediately struck by the visual similarities with Dark City, which was a fairly recent movie when this came out. And then the action kicks in, as the first wave of cops go to attack Trinity.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh shit, no, this is something different.
Yeah, because she's in a hotel.
The same one from Dark City.
It's the same hotel. And I was just like, this looks just like Dark City. And then you kind of are looking around and you see this is an abandoned hotel, and cops are like coming in, and they manage to corner Trinity, and she's got her back to them, and I'm just like, this is pretty cool. And then she just starts fucking wrecking house, and I'm like, oh shit, this is like a fucking John Woo movie.
Yeah, it is. It's very Hong Kong. And that's down to the choreographer, the fight choreographer, Yuen Woo Ping, which was not common yet, in American film. We talked about this a bit in the Crow episode. Hong Kong style choreography, when it showed up in American movies in the 90s, it was always like, fuck.
Yeah, everyone was like, Jesus, what's happening?
It's like, people can move like this.
It's not just like Dirty Harry walks up and punches a guy out.
Yeah, totally. It's like people, like, because we get that first bullet time shot of Trinity kind of raising up in like a crane kick thing before she starts wrecking cops. And it's like, it's immediately visually arresting. Like, you're like, whoa.
Yeah, it's just this opening action scene. It's like a taste of what you're gonna get down the road. This is the prologue of the book, where they show you the other killing the Wrong Way Ranger, Sir Waymar Royce.
Yeah,
and then we get real because Agent Smith shows up, and you're like, party's over.
Yeah, and and the cops are like, oh great, it's the feds, and you kind of. It's such a familiar trope of the feds rolling in,
cop versus fed.
Yeah, that you feel like you know what's happening, even though you really have no clue of what's going on.
And there's barely any dialogue between them, and you don't need it though.
Yeah,
because this is tropey on purpose, because it's the Matrix. It's a simulation.
Yeah, because the cop says, I sent a whole squad up there, and they can handle one little girl. And Agent Smith is like, no, officer, your men are already dead. And you're like,
I gotta say though, from the beginning to the very end, Hugo Weaving crushes it.
I love him so much.
He's just amazing. I was just like, this guy is an all-star. And then later on, when he's in the Lord of the Rings movies, I was like, oh shit, this guy again. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, Hugo Weaving's always great. And not to sidebar too much onto Lord of the Rings, that all, I eventually grew to love the Elrond in Rings of Power also. But it was a hard sell to move to replace Hugo Weaving because he's irreplaceable.
Yeah, I think by the end of it, I was behind the new Elrond just in his own merits, mostly because of his interactions with Durin.
Yes. Oh, totally.
Made him lovable, but honestly, Hugo Weaving is the GOAT Elrond.
Yeah, there's no replacing Hugo Weaving. We're on the same page. The agents go in there, and I think we see one of the agents replaces one of the cops.
Yeah, so that's like a new thing. Yeah. It's like, oh shit, what's even happening?
Yeah. And, Trinity runs like hell when she sees an agent.
Yeah.
They do a rooftop chase. She jumps a huge span that shouldn't be able to be followed, and the agent just hops right along with her. And the cops are all gobsmacked by it.
I thought that this rooftop chase scene, because a rooftop chase scene is it's like movie cliche, you get some cool parkour stuff.
Yeah.
And so they're doing it, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool. We get some of that in The Crow, And then she does the crazy jump, and I was like, oh, shit, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's a little superhero-ish. And then the agent follows, and then she goes, and she runs and jumps like the head first dive through the window across the gap. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
It's like every time I thought I had a trope pegged, they go ahead and twist it.
Yeah. And it's so anime like, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing, is this is borrowing the visual style of Japanese animation, which was also not common then. Like, it's much more common in the post-Matrix world. We see this sort of stuff all the time, to the point where we're numb to extreme visual effects.
Yeah, for sure.
But this movie, everything was like the first time you saw it.
But I was watching this, and I even have this right here in my notes. These action scenes absolutely hold up.
Oh, yeah.
It's still super engaging more than 20 years later. I'm still really into it. Like, nothing looks dated or weird or bad. It's all just completely awesome.
Yeah, there's a couple of times where the effects, you see the limitations of the technology of the time.
Yeah.
But nothing ever looks bad. Like, and I don't know how, like, it doesn't look real, but it doesn't look bad. It always looks tasteful.
Yeah, one of the things that struck me was that it's sort of like Dark City. It's like, it's okay if something doesn't look perfect, because this is the Matrix.
Yeah.
It is fake. It's a simulation.
Yeah.
And that's that's the whole concept of the movie. I also like how they have the cool 90s chic black latex, fetish goth kind of look. That was really cool at the time, and it still looks cool.
It still is, and we haven't even said Carrie-Anne Moss's name yet, I don't think. She's incredible in this movie.
She's definitely an all-star, and she holds up through all the movies, actually.
Oh, yeah. She's... one of the kind of the three beating hearts of the movie between her, Keanu, and Lawrence Fishburne. Like, they're the reason that the three of them are the ones on the poster. Like, they
should have just had a Hugo Weaving poster. Like, nobody else.
Just Agent Smith. Yeah. Because you don't even remember the other two agents.
You don't need them.
And so this whole thing, she's trying to get to a landline because they cut the landline.
Yep.
Because it's dial-up internet. That's how you get in and out of the internet, is through phones.
Yeah, in the Matrix, that's how you do it. Because they do get some cell phones later, or in the movie later on. But,
well, they have cell phones to communicate with, but you have to.
You have to have a landline to get out.
Yeah. Probably about bandwidth, right?
Because it's like that. You can't transmit.
They're not smartphones.
Consciousness.
They're just like Nokia flip phones.
Yeah, actually, there's this really cool. I think I call it out later on, but there's like this really cool Nokia slide out phone.
Oh, they're so
when
cool.
that came out, I was like, man, I want that phone.
It
was cooler than my Samsung Flip that I had at the time.
It is the coolest phone of the time for sure. Yeah, and it still looks cool. Like if you saw someone pull that out, you're still like, well, that's a cool retro phone.
Yeah.
So there's a phone booth and there's an agent in a garbage truck. And so it's a race to get to the phone booth. Mm-hmm. We don't really know what's going on because she gets to the phone booth.
And no one has explained anything.
Yeah, which I love that. It's one of my favorite ways of telling stories like this is to leave the audience searching for the answer rather than telling it to them. Mm-hmm. Leave them wondering what's going to happen and figure it out.
Well, it's just show, don't tell. Like we know she wants that before, and he wants to destroy it, and so they're racing towards it. She wins, and she picks up the phone, and then we know she's safe because she disappears. She's not there.
We don't see her disappear though. We just see him crash through the phone booth.
Yeah.
So you could
infer that she died.
Yeah.
I didn't get that impression.
No, you don't get that impression, but you also don't know where she went.
Sure.
Yeah. And and then we cut to Neo, to Keanu Reeves, asleep on his computer desk. I want to call out the books on his desk because they're important. Anytime you see a book in a movie and you can actually read the title of it, the director thinks that's important information.
Okay.
So he's got Simulacre and Simulation by Jean Baudrillard, Out of Control by Kevin Kelly, which is a book about machine learning, and Introduction to Evolutionary Psychology by Dylan Evans.
Interesting.
The Wachowskis made everyone read these books. The stars of the movies, everyone had to read these books beforehand, like to get philosophically in line with what the movie's talking about.
All right, so they're real thinky nerds.
They're very thinky nerds, and I mean, I haven't read Out of Control or Evolutionary Psychology. Absolutely, I think everyone should read Simulacre and Simulation. It's like if you want to understand the 21st century world we live in, this is a very important book.
Oh, okay. I haven't checked it out. Maybe I'll give that a try. Yeah, so I think we see Thomas Anderson in his cool nerd hacker den. Mm-hmm. He's got stacks of CDs. Yeah. He's got there are some mini discs. There's
the Sony mini disc RIP.
Oh, that was a good format too.
It is a really good format.
And I just like his setup, like the set design here. This apartment was really cool.
Yeah.
The CRT monitor, all that stuff was rad.
Yeah, and he's got a message flashing on the screen. Like it's like "Wake up, Neo," and it tells him to follow the White Rabbit.
Yeah, it says the Matrix has you. And I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah, and it's so funny the idea that getting an instant message is disconcerting.
Yeah, he was really like creeped by that.
Yeah, because in the time of dial-up, it's very difficult to send an unwanted instant message. There's no way to log on to someone else's computer.
To just force something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was pretty cool how it was all set up. Mm-hmm. And then he's told to follow the White Rabbit.
Yeah.
And then we get some knocking at the door, and it's a guy named Troy. Mm-hmm. He's selling Troy some illicit data or something on a disc. Yeah,
it's a weird transaction, right? The drug dealer comes over to get some sort of something
program.
I don't really know exactly what Troy is up to.
Was it on a mini disc? It looked like he handed Troy a mini disc.
I think it's just one of those old floppy or the little floppy discs.
Yeah, that's 3.5.
And basically, Neo's he's a little disconcerted, and he says to Troy the thing about, do you ever get that feeling like where you don't know if you're still dreaming or if you're awake? Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, all the time. It's called mescaline. And he's like, you know what? You need to unplug and come out and party with us. And, so they invite him to come out to the club, and he's like, no.
He's trying to say no, but the girl has a white rabbit tattoo.
Yeah, and that's too much of a coincidence. Mm-hmm. And so he has to follow them. There's lots of this stuff. There's lots of allusions to Alice in Wonderland and The Wizard of Oz. And there's absolutely a read of this movie where the whole thing is in Neo's head. Like, it's all a delusion that he's having.
Okay.
And I think it's in the text. Like, I think it's intentionally there. I think as we get deeper into the sequels, it gets harder to read it that way.
Sure.
But you can, and many people do, like Diver Sam, for instance, absolutely thinks this movie all takes place in Neo's fantasy world.
So which is the real place that he is in? Is he in like an asylum, like on the Nebuchadnezzar, or is he in his own, that apartment? Is he Mr. Anderson?
Yeah, I think he's in that read. It's an elaborate dream, or it's a program that he's created. But there is no real world in the whole movie.
I kind of hate how the fourth movie just cheapened it all.
I don't feel like it did. I feel like no, I don't think that it cheapened it.
Oh, you don't think so?
No, I don't think so. I don't think the fourth movie. I think the fourth movie
made fun of itself.
Yeah. Well, I think it makes fun of everything that surrounds the Matrix and the whole idea of franchises and
sure,
stuff like
yeah.
that.
It's very self-deprecating,
very meta,
intentionally.
Yeah. But let's get back to the original, the OG.
Yeah, so they get him to go to a club, and I was just thinking, man, this club looks dope. I want to go there. That shit looks great. It's like there's music. I mean, it's Rob Zombie, but we can give him a pass.
Yeah.
It was cool. I don't know when it became not cool, when it became just radio rock.
I mean, I never thought solo Rob Zombie was cool, but I'm like
White
a little
Zombie's good. Yeah.
White Zombie. I'm always for White Zombie. But I saw Rob Zombie a few times. I never saw White Zombie because I was just like a little too late for that.
Yeah, for sure. He didn't do a lot of White Zombie didn't do a lot of festival touring.
No, and in this era of the first Rob Zombie album, there was multiple White Zombie albums and one Rob Zombie album.
Yeah.
So the sets were mostly White Zombie songs.
Yeah, like the first Soulfly tour.
Yeah, exactly. But we're tangenting too much.
Yeah, so the club is pretty rad, and they're there, and he's just kind of standing off by himself doing his own thing. He's being a loner.
He's a lurker.
He's doing a Dave because I would do that at that club, just people watching. And there's nothing wrong with people watching. But then Trinity shows up.
Yeah. And, she gets up real close in his bubble and talks to him.
Yeah, for sure.
And
he's not against it because she looks really good.
Oh no, this is very sexy.
Yeah.
The Matrix fucks. like this is a very sexy film. It's one of the things I like about the Matrix series is that it is adult oriented.
Sure.
And like we talk about like the modern superhero movies, for the most part, they're very chaste.
Oh,
like
for kids.
It's like adults acting like kids almost. Like everyone's adults, but no one has adult relationships. The Matrix is very mature.
Can we cancel superhero movies?
I mean, no, I don't think so.
We don't have the power, but can we hypothetically as a society just be over it?
I mean, I think a lot of people are. I think that's something that has always existed since like the beginning of time.
Fairy tales.
Yeah. Mythology, whatever. But I do like adult content. You know what I mean? Like,
for sure.
And I like family content just fine, but I'm happy with adult content. Like at this
Nick
point,
prefers his movies to fuck.
There's not enough fucking in movies anymore, if you ask me. It's all on Game of Thrones, and there it's incestuous most of the time.
It's weird,
Yeah, I want people that aren't related to each other.
Weirdo.
Yeah, I know. What's wrong with me? Aren't related to each other with normal age range to each other.
Oh, shit. Getting particular at this point.
So, anyways, she drops a little knowledge on him about Morpheus and what's going on. And
well, she doesn't actually say his name. Like, I know
right.
who you're looking for.
Oh, you're right. She's
really talking around it.
She's leading him.
I know the man who you seek.
Yeah.
And she's really, like, I think the dialogue in this scene is really clever. Like, I really enjoyed the writing here.
Yeah. And then kind of abruptly, Neo wakes up back in his room.
Yes.
Which this leads into the whole thing being a fantasy idea, right? Like, because this very
He
well
just had a dream of a hot lady.
Yeah. It's totally plausible at this point.
Never happened.
Yeah. And he's late for work, so he's gotta get to work.
And he goes in. He's late for work, and he's in the office. And his boss is this typical kind of douchebaggy guy in a suit, and he's just totally dressing him down. And they're both in suits. And one thing that really kind of strikes me is, like, he's a programmer at a tech company, but they're dressed and act like it's a stock brokerage. But most of the tech companies in the late 90s, literally no one dressed like that. It was not business formal.
Yeah. Well, I think that changes kind of after this as you get into the 2000s.
You think?
Yeah.
I remember the 90s .com boom when all this stuff, and it was it was pre Silicon Valley Tech Bro, but there were still Nerf battles in the office in those early web companies.
Thomas Anderson doesn't work at one of those cool offices.
No, he's working at a database company.
This is a data entry kind of thing.
Shit job.
Yeah, because actually he's not. Is he really a programmer, or is he just a computer dork?
I think it said he was a programmer, but I don't think it's important to the story.
Yeah.
I just thought it was weird how business formal they were.
Yeah.
And so he's in his cubicle. I don't know if you've ever worked in a cube farm.
Nope.
But it's fucking horrible. It's soul crushing.
It seems like it would kill me. Yeah. It doesn't seem good.
You would hate it. And a package arrives for him, and he opens it up, and it's that slick slide out Nokia.
He pulls it out, and it immediately rings.
Yeah. And he's like, what the hell?
And Morpheus is on the other end of the line, and he tells Neo there's agents after him, and he can get him out of there, but he needs to do exactly what he says when he says it.
So he basically does. Like, Morpheus guides him. He's like, oh, they're coming now. You got to move now. And he's like sneaking through the office. This is like a video game where you have to engage in stealth mode.
He's playing Metal Gear Solid right now in a cubicle.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think I played this exact scene through in Cyberpunk 2077.
Probably, yeah. And it's, I mean, we constantly talk about how good this stuff is. It's legitimately tense. It's Keanu Reeves like duck walking around a cubicle farm, and you're like on the edge of your seat through the whole thing, like because you don't know what's going to happen if the agents get him, and like you're so captured by the fantasy of what's going on with Morpheus on the phone, and you're just like, this movie's constantly just feeding you, and you're happy to take everybody it gives you. You know, like it's like, oh my god, what happens next? And he leads him to an office, and there's like a window washer's scaffolding outside.
Yeah.
And he's like, basically, go out on the ledge, work your way around to the scaffold, and get to the roof. And that's how you get out of here. Or get arrested, and who knows what happens.
Yeah, there's only two ways out.
Yeah.
With those agents or on that scaffold. And Mr. Anderson goes out, and then the wind blows him really hard, and he's like, nope, I can't do this. He goes back in, and
if he didn't have to get around that sort of like outcropping, which really takes a lot of faith in yourself, he could have probably done it, but that was just too much to hang his ass out there as he went around that thing. He just couldn't at this point talk himself into doing it. So he lets himself get arrested.
Yeah. And basically, they take him in, and they tell him, that he's been working with a known terrorist named Morpheus, and he's
got a big file too.
Yeah, they have a bunch of information on him for breaking every computer crime law on the books. He's refusing to cooperate, and then basically Agent Smith decides to go outside of the act, and he fuses Neo's mouth closed.
Yeah, because because old Thomas Anderson, it's not his first rodeo. He's a professional hacker.
He's like, I want my phone call.
Yeah, he says, how about I give you the finger and you give me your phone call or my phone call. And he's like, how do you make a phone call when you can't speak? And it's like, and yeah, body horror. His mouth seals shut. It's very creepy. And they pull him onto the table and put a little android shrimp in his belly button.
Like a robot bug thing. And that's what really occurred to me with his mouth sealed shut and he's being held down and a robot going into his body. I was like, oh shit, this is true body horror. Because that's fucking darkness.
And it's so uncomfortable. Like it wriggling in through his belly button is like so creepy and visceral feeling. Like it makes your stomach hurt when you watch it happen.
Yeah, you just feel like you just naturally want to kind of like thrash around, like fuck. So then he wakes up and he believes it was a nightmare.
Yeah,
because this is not real. This is all just a dream. In that idea.
But then he gets another phone call from Morpheus, and he arranges a meeting, and so. Trinity and APOC and Switch come to pick up Neo in a what's like a Lincoln Town car or something.
It's a 1965 Lincoln Continental with suicide doors. Yeah, it's super cool.
That's like isn't that like the same car the Green Hornet drives? Like
it's something like that.
It's a very classy 60s car.
Yeah, that Lincoln Continental looks really cool.
And as much as I liked Dark City, I'm not going to shit on that movie. The same sets look cooler in this movie.
Yeah.
It's like, I remember this bridge. It looks cooler here. Why?
Yeah, it's the camera work and the lighting and the rain. I loved the rain in this.
It's raining really hard in this scene.
The actors are just drenched.
And that's another repeated theme, right? Falling water. The falling code resembles falling water. There's a window washer at the office building, so there's water trickling down. It's raining here. You see the falling water repeats all through the movie.
Yeah.
Anyways, they get Neo in the car. Switch pulls a gun on him. They don't quite trust Neo yet. Mm-hmm. And they get out a weird steampunky looking machine to extract this bug out of Neo's stomach. Looks like a big gun with an ultrasound thing stuck on it and some light bulbs.
Yeah, it's very sci-fi.
Yeah, it's very sci-fi and it's very like improvised. Like it does make me think of like 12 Monkeys and like that sort of like they're coming from a post-apocalyptic situation. And it pulls the thing out of his stomach. And he's like, "Holy shit, that thing's real!" Like he was still thinking it was like a dream. And they chuck the shrimp out the window, and they take him back. I think to the same hotel from the opening scene of the movie.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and they take him to go and see Morpheus.
Yeah, and I was just noting, like, when you look at the sets and you look at the rain and all this stuff, it looks like The Crow to me, like, and the long coats on everybody, and I was just like, wow, this is really my aesthetic.
Yeah, there's a lot of full length trench coats, which I do think they look dated because people don't wear coats at that length anymore.
That's true. It's more nowadays. 3/4 is a lot more the thing.
Yeah, but it really works because say for Morpheus is the serpent in the garden right now, right? Mm-hmm. He's about to offer the apple, the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil to Neo in the form of the red pill, and he's wearing a full length gator skin trench coat.
Yeah. And
he has like the little cool sunglasses.
Those are so cool, the clip-on glasses.
Yeah.
They look rad.
So he is the snake in the garden. And he even said, he's like, I'm not offering you anything except for knowledge.
Yeah. I'm just going to offer you the truth.
Yeah. And so he hands him, either a blue pill, you go to sleep and wake up back in your apartment like nothing happened. Red pill, he says, I'll show you how far the rabbit hole goes.
This whole dialogue between them is about fate and predestination and all of that is really cool.
Yeah.
And I like how he talks about the Matrix, how it's all around them and it's in them. For a moment there, it sounded like Obi-Wan Kenobi talking about the Force.
Oh, yeah.
It definitely has shades of that. Oh. And it's just meant, I think it's intentionally trying to evoke all of these things that are in your memory. It's trying to make you feel familiar.
Yeah, and Morpheus, like, definitely in 1999, I hadn't read anything. I hadn't read about Zen philosophy. I hadn't read like any sort of philosophical books. Now I recognize so much of what he's saying. Like he's like, oh, this is from Dogen and this is from Baudrillard and this like he's giving like this mishmash of different philosophies and Zen koans and stuff. But it's all kind of rooted, you know what I mean? Like it's not just nonsense. Like a lot of the stuff Obi-Wan says is nonsense.
Sure.
This is all rooted in real philosophies, and it gives it weight that it wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah, that's true. And so he gives him the option, the red pill or the blue pill. And I really hate that Trump supporters have co-opted the take the red pill thing.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Basically, like the idea of you need to wake up and see reality and all of that. And it's so dumb because the Wachowskis are so fucking liberal.
Oh, yeah. Like, they're trans ladies. They couldn't be more left-wing. Like, this is a pretty anarchist movie.
Anti-establishment.
Yeah, and it's just like Fight Club in that way, where the most toxic dude bros of the internet latch onto it, despite the fact the creator hates them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And it's absolutely not for them. And if anything, it's critical of them. But they latch onto it.
Like when jocks like Nirvana and Kurt Cobain hated them.
It's very much like that. You can't quite control who adopts it, because everyone latched onto the Matrix. Like it had that sort of broad appeal.
Yeah, so the pill is actually a carrier program so that they can locate him in the real world. And so after he takes it, his reality, it kind of distorts, and then he wakes up in a liquid-filled pod.
Yeah, I mean, let's not brush over the whole, like, being enveloped by the mirror thing and everything, because that's a really cool, evocative visual.
Yeah, there's some really cool stuff in this part of the movie. The initial meeting with Morpheus is one of the really cool moments in the story. This is where the hero has to decide whether they're called to action or not.
Yeah. And like there's a broken mirror there, and it reforms, and he touches it, and then the mirror like oozes all over him and envelops him, and it's like it's going down his throat. And he's going into cardiac arrest because they need to get him. We don't know where he is. Yeah. But they need to get him out of there in the real world. And then, as you said, we find him in a pod. He kind of pops up out of this amniotic sac. Yeah. He's bald, no eyebrows, tubes stuck in him all over the place. And this big, like, weird insectoid robot comes, picks him up by the neck, and pulls the coax cable out of the back of his head.
But even before that, basically, like when he opens up and he pulls the first one like out of his mouth, out of his throat, yeah. I was just like,
yeah, he's like intubated,
and then he just looks around, and you just get this beautifully dystopian look of just towers upon towers of humans in these pod sack things, and it's just absolutely gnarly.
Oh, it's so cool. And before someone messages me, intubated is for breathing. It's a feeding tube. I know that. I was just grasping for the wrong word there.
Yeah, one of the you probably would have had like 47 notifications. Like
no, just one. Intubated, actually. No, well, I know. It's just the wrong word.
And then
shouts to Jeff Darrow's design work here.
On the big robot thing.
The robot. I call it a biomechanical hellscape. The battery farm of humans, like it is so creepy and You said body horror earlier. Mm-hmm. It gives you all that sense of body horror, and like it's like, oh my god, like what is this place? It's very freaky.
Like when the robot, it looks like a cross between a Star Wars Imperial torture droid and a spider. And when it pulls the thing out of the back of his head, I was like, oh shit, that's a big needle.
It's deep in his brain.
Yeah, and then as you said, it just flushes him. Yep. So it's just like, oh, another one woke up, flush him.
See, I've read it that way a lot of times. But that's not what the machines do, right? So the machines recycle people.
Sure, yeah, you're going to go eat them, right?
So, yeah, the good guys are piloting that.
They're piloting
that robot and unplugging him, and they flush him. Because if he just was malfunctioning, they just would liquefy him and put him into the system.
On the spot. Okay, interesting. So he goes down into these sewage tunnels, and it's pretty gross down there.
Yeah.
And, whereas everything in the Matrix, even though some of the places seemed kind of dirty, everything had a certain amount of polish to it. Mm-hmm. Here, everything's just legit gross. There's no polish on anything.
Yeah, and they pluck Neo out of the water like he's a claw machine toy.
Yeah,
and he's brought up into the Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah, which is the name of their ship, and they say, "Welcome to the real world."
Yeah, the real world sucks.
Yeah, it's like, oh shit, this place is lame, and this ship is gnarly, and everything sucks, and well, your body is also just in complete pain. Your whole body is aching.
Yeah, I mean, because he's never used his body up until this point. He's just been floating in this pod, so he's his muscles are atrophied. We get like kind of a montage of them like giving him rehabilitation, like where he's filled with like
acupuncture needles,
where they're like electropulsing his muscles in order to sort of like build him up to where he can move and walk and stuff. And
they kind of surgically remove most of the plug ports from his body, but not his head.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually for medical usage, having all these pre-implanted plugs is pretty useful because they had him on like a feed, like a fluids tube or whatever into the port on his arm.
Yeah.
Because you know what? I mean, the machines,
it's already there.
They've already fitted you with those plugs.
Because he wakes up and he pulls it out, and once again, this is a really long needle into his arm.
It's deep. Yeah. Very uncomfortable. Morpheus kind of drops as much knowledge as he can take at the time, right? He says, you believe it's the year 1999. Actually, it's closer to 2199. But I can't tell you exactly when it is because honestly, we don't know. It's like, damn, like it's 100 years in the future, and and you don't like, we're not even sure when it is. Like that's how bad things are.
Yeah, and then he gets, after the medical montage, he gets up and he gets to meet the crew. And he meets Epoch, Switch, Cypher, Tank, Dozer, Mouse, and Trinity. And they sit him down in a chair and they jack him in again. It's like, well, fuck me. Like, first thing you do, just jack him in, and it's just this full white construct. And the interesting thing to me was how utterly silent it was, like right then, because the whole time when they're in the ship, there's like the whirring and humming and all of this of the ship. But then once you go into this construct, the pure white space, it's just absolutely quiet. It was almost eerie.
Yeah, it's really great sound design.
Yeah,
it very much like it's constantly manipulating your mood with the sound. It's the sound is doing what it's supposed to in a movie. And Morpheus, this is one of our exposition dumps where Morpheus kind of explains how everything works in the Matrix and stuff to Neo. About the phones and the hackers and all of that stuff. And then he shows him the the real world. Like he shows them a vision of what the surface world looks like on Earth. You know, because he says, what's the line about no one knows who struck first, the humans or the machines, but we know it was us that scorched the sky. Because
we believe that the solar energy, without energy abundance of the sun, they would lose. But turns out they just decided to harvest bioelectric power from the humans.
Yep.
But then they learned that when they tried to make a perfect matrix, we get that later.
That's
actually.
later, yeah. And if you want this stuff about like the war and like what happens, absolutely track down the Animatrix and watch that. I think it's on HBO Max to stream. And it
goes through all this.
It goes through the prologue and the war with the machines and everything, and it's like there's good content there.
That's pretty cool. One of the things that I like when he's explaining is he talks about like why does Neo look the way he looks, like with his hair, his jacket, and his clothes, and he calls it his residual self-image.
Yeah,
I really like that idea. It kind of reminds me of like how you see yourself in a dream. It may not be the real you, but that's kind of your mental vision of you,
right?
And I just kind of think of that like I wonder what my mental what is my residual self-image of myself. What would I look like in the Matrix?
It is interesting because it's not necessarily your idealized self.
No, it's just what you think you are.
Yeah, which that it's maybe your truest self, and that does almost I think at this point Morpheus has kind of talked about the one, the person that can remake the Matrix as they see fit.
Yeah.
And we're starting to kind of, he thinks Neo is that guy.
Yeah.
And the whole, the way you project your self-image into the Matrix, it does almost lead you to the idea that almost anyone could do what Neo can do.
Yeah.
If they were fully realized, right? Like, because you're already affecting the Matrix with your self-image. Yeah. So it's like people, like they all kind of have these powers to manipulate it, but Neo, they think, is something next level where he's one with the Matrix or whatever.
Yeah. And basically, like at the culmination of all of this, Neo decides he wants out. He's not in it to win it. He wants to leave. He ends up vomiting, and he's delirious.
Yeah.
And he doesn't believe Morpheus.
Yeah, he kind of rejects it, and
this is a classic hero's journey trope where the hero doubts himself and all of that.
Yeah. Because that's another one, like that's another level that the Matrix is functioning on. If you want it to be, it is just Luke Skywalker, right? Like it's just the standard Joseph Campbell hero myth.
Yep.
And it reads perfectly well, and actually exceptionally well, that way, as just a straight up adventure story.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the Matrix is actually like a textbook example of the monomyth.
Because when Neo, he wakes up and Morpheus kind of apologizes to him because he says, it's sort of my fault because we have a policy of not awakening someone once they've reached a certain age, but you were special, and so we had to do it.
Yeah, you're the one. We have to. We have to let you out. And so basically we just kind of learn that Morpheus and his dudes, they're a bunch of like rebels that go around and unplug enslaved humans and recruit them to be part of their little like shadow war against the
machines.
The machines, because there's only one human city, Zion. It's buried deep in the earth, and so in order to keep getting people free, they got to have these pirates, basically.
Yeah, and so Neo goes to see Tank, he's the operator.
Yep.
And so Tank
is the one that tells him about Zion.
Yeah, and Tank starts downloading programs, and Tank kind of goes, he's like, well, here's these operating programs. And he's like, but that's no fun. Let's stick to combat training.
Yeah.
And there is this sort of Diver Sam pointed this out to me, so I need to call it out. Tank and Dozer are brothers.
Yeah.
And a bulldozer and a tank are essentially the same machine, except one's for construction and one is for combat.
Yeah.
And so Tank is all focused on combat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so he starts like uploading combat fighting styles to Neo, and Neo's just like a sponge for it. He just like, give me more jiu-jitsu, aikido, kempo,
the best
taekwondo.
The best line is when he goes, "I know kung fu."
Yeah. And to which Morpheus replies, "Show me."
Yeah, it's so perfect. I can't. I on the whole Tank and Dozer thing, I think I've known like maybe 3 different people who've got 2 dogs at the same time and named them Tank and Dozer.
Oh, really?
It's like I think one was a pair of Rottweilers, one was a pair of Pit Bulls. Like, it's just kind of a thing.
The thing I always find that's a good name for a pair of animals.
Yeah.
What's weird is that they're brothers. Like, it's implied they're biological brothers, and they are not ethnically the same. Same ethnicity. One of them is black, and the other is like Pacific Islander / Asian.
Yeah,
and it's like, are you really? I mean,
they're probably half brothers.
Yeah, maybe half brothers or just brothers, bros. But it's like, I don't think you're quite full on.
Maybe they grew up in the same polycule.
This is all about found family anyway. So I'm overthinking it. But it's always, there's like when he says my brother Dozer, and I was like, not a lot of resemblance.
Yeah, they should have actually got like the brothers who are brothers, like Eric and Arik, the 2 members of the King's Guard,
or the Barbarian brothers. Do you remember those?
Oh
guys?
yeah, those guys were perfect.
No, that'd be terrible. These guys are both great. No criticism at all of Tank and Dozer.
Schwarzenegger and DeVito, twins.
That would pull you out of the fantasy.
Everyone would laugh.
You're like, this ruined my immersion. So anyways, now we're in the dojo. Let's get back on track.
And this is one of the best scenes in the movie.
Oh, it's so iconic, this whole thing.
Yeah, so they like load in and they have this thing. Like, I love how Morpheus like calls him out like Bruce Lee does, you know, like with the open hand with just the fingers moving. And this, in my opinion, like when they're fighting, and they do a couple passes and Morpheus is winning, and then he's breathing hard, and he goes, "You think that's air you're breathing now?" And Neo's head, he just kind of like something goes off in his mind, and this is the sleeper must awaken moment.
Oh, totally.
And he basically he wakes up and he fucks him up, and the whole crew comes, is like, Neo's fighting Morpheus.
Yeah,
and they all come to watch it.
Yeah, and as it is, even though Morpheus still is largely schooling him,
yeah,
Neo is still the fastest person anyone's ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, he is remarkable at how well he does this.
And it's so early. It's his first time.
Yeah. And Morpheus says something to him about, because he's like, why am I beating you? And he says, well, you're faster. And he's like, do you think my muscles matter in this world?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like my size and yeah, so it's all, you know, that all stacks on what you were saying earlier. Because they start going beyond human capacity,
like
right?
They start crazy jumps.
Yeah, they're doing superhuman stuff,
and it's really cool. I really love this dojo scene in the movie. It was just had me like enwrapped.
Yeah, and the music, Don Davis's score is great throughout. It's just sort of like when you started talking about this scene, I could hear that. I could hear the dojo music start playing in my mind, and I was like, this is a good score. This is...
Yeah, the sound design in the music.
Everything works. Morpheus tells Tank to put them in the jump program, because he's pushing Neo hard, because they had a little breakthrough, and he's going to, you know, see how far they can push it. They're up on like the top of a skyscraper, and Morpheus jumps from one building to the other. A big boulevard in between.
An impossible jump.
Yeah. And he encourages Neo to do it, to open his mind and to make the jump. And everyone's sort of on the edge of their seat. Like,
and Trinity thinks he's going to make it.
Yeah. but he doesn't make
Nope,
it.
he fails.
And he just falls to the ground, and the ground kind of absorbs him and then spits him back out. Yeah.
Does he a Wile E. Coyote?
Oh, it's very cartoon physics. And the whole, you can see the crew is like disappointed, but everyone agrees that none of them have made their first jump. Like, no one ever does.
Like, even Cypher, who's like a curmudgeon, is like, nobody makes their first jump.
Yeah. So he's special, but no, they're not quite ready to get onto he's the internet messiah.
Yeah.
You know, like, they're not quite there.
Yeah, I think that it was that whole scene, that whole deal was awesome. I loved the music during it all. It's just so killer. We get a little bit of time in Matrix stuff where Morpheus is telling him the rules of the Matrix, where he's like, he warns Neo that if you die in the Matrix, it kills your body too, and he basically
that's that non-duality. Yeah. The physical body can't exist without the mind. So
our beer here.
That's our beer.
That's good. That's good pod, Nick. You're pointing to a beer can.
I tapped it by the microphone.
Yeah, and we get this kind of tour of the Matrix while Morpheus is explaining, and this music is really good.
Yeah.
Like, I really like the song, like this soundtrack part. It's just like I can hear it in my head right now. It's just so cool.
And so Neo, he gets distracted mid-monologue by a sort of prototypical blonde bombshell. And Morpheus gives him were you listening to me, or were you looking at the blonde woman?
At the woman in red.
Yeah. And he says, look at her now, and turns around, and it's Agent Smith. And he uses it as a demonstration of how the agents can replace any human that's plugged into the Matrix. They can override them.
Yes.
And it's sort of, he said, like, even though these are the people in the Matrix are the people we're trying to liberate, you, as long as they're plugged into the Matrix, you have to treat them as though they are part of the Matrix. Yes. So that's you can kill civilians rule.
Yes, you can just kill anybody. So it's just a really interesting exposition. Normally, I hate the when you just get a lore dump.
But they never go too long. I think that's how the Matrix walks that line. Is they give you bits, and then they give you a cool action sequence, and they give
they're teaching you the rules of the game as you go, because by the end you need to know all the rules to follow all the fights, and then know when Neo breaks the rules.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because him breaking rules isn't remarkable if you don't even know the rule.
Yeah. So back in the real world, outside the Matrix, robot sentinels are approaching the Nebuchadnezzar, so they need to shut down and hide.
And I love these like squid things. They look really
they
cool.
call them squiddies.
Yeah.
More great Jeff Darrow designs. Very creepy and biomechanical. Like, they look like organisms, but they're all mechanical. And they power down, and they have an EMP ready to go. In case it gets too close.
But they want to go. They want to just have go stealth mode and have the sentinels pass them by. They don't want to have to use the EMP. And I was just at this point in the movie, I just sort of took a meta thought here in my notes, and it was this movie absolutely is holding up. It's 20 years old, and it's still fantastic. The Sentinels look dope. The ship looks cool. Everything it's just looking good. I'm in it. I've seen this movie at least 10 times, but not in the last 5-10 years. But I'm just like, it's got me.
Yeah.
Like the Matrix has you.
Right?
It's really good at this point.
I mean, and that's the thing. That's why I say it's a perfect film. Is like you never really have those moments where, like, I love old movies, and there's usually something where you go, well, that's a product of its time. Like, and you do think that in the Matrix, right? When you see old technology or whatever, you go, oh yeah, that's very 1999. But it's not a, like, I wish they hadn't have done that, but that's just how it was in the 90s.
Yeah.
There's certain, like, time stamps on it that mark it the time it was in, but it feels timeless still. The story feels timeless.
Yeah, and it doesn't. Nothing that happens feels like weird, and it was done for budget reasons. Like in Escape from New York or whatever, when they blow up the taxi cab driving across the bridge, and it literally just falls into two pieces, like a clean cut. It's like, guys, no car breaks like that. Nothing feels cheap.
No, never.
And so then we cut to Neo having a drink with Cypher.
Yeah, he walks up.
He's got some hooch.
He walks up on Cypher, who is sitting there watching The Matrix, and he's clear. Like, Neo surprises him because he walks up quiet. And you know, I don't know. Do you get, because Cypher ends up being a rat? Mm-hmm. Do you get that vibe here for the first? Actually, not the first time. There's a few times that Cypher is coded as being untrustworthy.
Yeah, he's definitely, the whole time, the actor is giving us like shitbird vibes.
Yeah, and he treats it almost like Neo caught him jerking off, because he turns off a bunch of the monitors when Neo gets. He's like Jesus, you know, and he's like click click click, and he turns off, but Neo can't perceive the code yet.
Yeah, he doesn't know what it means.
Yeah.
Cypher says like, "Oh yeah, I don't even see code. I just see the Matrix."
Yeah. And he gives him the hooch, you know, and it's like, you know, typical rock gut hooch. He says it's good for degreasing engines and getting drunk.
Yep.
And you know, Cypher asks him if Neo told him like why we pulled you out, and he's like, Jesus, like, you know, what do you do with that, being told you're here to save the world? And Neo's very sort of like, you know, I don't know if I'm here to save the world or not. You know, he's not fully bought into his own shit yet.
Yeah. And yeah, this scene is interesting, this interaction. It does not seem like Cypher likes Neo.
Yeah. It's almost like, I get the impression Cypher sort of grudgingly likes Neo. Like, I think Cypher wants to not like Neo because he's planning, as we see immediately in the next scene, to betray everyone. Mm-hmm. But Neo, like real Keanu,
he's just generally likable.
He's too likable to hate. Like, it's very hard to hate him, and Cypher's kind of like, God, it'd be easier if you were a dick.
Yeah. But
you're just a nice guy.
It'd be easier if you were just like disliking Morpheus, who's kind of a holier than thou kind of a character.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the next scene cuts to Cypher in the Matrix, you know, because he's dressed all smooth and he's clean, and he's eating a steak, and he's just a total sellout. Mm-hmm. And he basically, he doesn't want to exist in the real world anymore. He wants back in the Matrix. Wants to be rich and powerful, someone important.
Like an actor.
Yes.
And you catch, his name is Reagan. He's Mr. Reagan. So it's like he wants to be someone important like an actor. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah.
Ronald Reagan. Okay. And then, so he basically agrees that he's going to sell out. He's going to sell out these people. But Smith wants the code to the Zion mainframe. Cypher tells him he doesn't have them. Only Morpheus has them.
Yeah, I can get you Morpheus. When do you think this takes place? Because I've never really questioned its chronology. Mm-hmm. But this last time I watched it, it occurred to me this could be a flashback. Because... can someone jack themselves into the Matrix, or would he need an accomplice to do that? Could he get Tank to jack him in? Because Tank would be watching what he was doing.
Yeah, I think that he probably at this point has figured a way to jack yourself into the Matrix.
Yeah.
Seems like a solo endeavor.
So that could have been what he was. He could have been just got done doing this when Neo came in, or getting ready to do this.
Yeah, he could do this right after Neo leaves.
Yeah. Yeah, either or. It doesn't really matter, but now we know that Cypher is a rat.
He's the Judas.
Yeah.
Because Neo is Jesus.
Internet Jesus, yeah.
Yeah. And so then it cuts to the mess hall where they're eating this gross gruel food. Mm-hmm. It's just absolutely gnarly. It's like proteins.
Yeah, proteins and aminos.
And Mouse asks about what'd you think about the lady in red? Mm-hmm. And he's basically trying to be a little digital pimp.
Yeah, that's what Switch calls him, right? A digital pimp. And he says, don't listen to these hypocrites. And it's like, oh yeah, everyone's gone and jerked off on the holodeck. Like,
can you imagine if you had the holodeck or the Matrix, which is like a super holodeck?
Yeah.
You know that there'd be shenanigans.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it would go nuts. People would become numb to real life stuff. They would just go,
oh, yeah.
Their fantasy's insane.
I think young Wesley Crusher on the Enterprise. They had to ban him.
Ruined for life. He
had
has
to ban him
parental controls. Like he's only allowed like the Klingon combat simulations or a very select set of approved programs.
Like, after last time, Wesley, you've had your privileges revoked. It was like worth it.
and that poor person that had to clean up after you. Ugh.
Oh man, yeah. So, anyways, Mouse thinks like that too, and he's, he runs the internet sex cafe or whatever.
I mean, but how do you even pay? Like, do they even have currency, or is it just sort of like
I think
you're now in the club? Like,
I think
want to join my deviant club?
Because you know how they all watch the screen of the code or whatever,
no,
or
he gets to watch.
I think that's the pay. That's
darkness.
He's like, you get to go in there and use his program, and then he watches. So
I guess if that's his thing,
it's a win-win.
Now, does that make you not want to go in if you know that guy's watching? Because I mean,
I don't know. Depends on what you're going to do in there.
And how long are you on the ship?
Again, they're all very close with each other.
That's true. I mean, it's like The Expanse, where the outer rim, what are they called? Anyway, the weirdos, they have their little polycule ships, like how everyone's dating everybody.
Yeah.
It's like that, but the Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah,
Belters. They're called Belters.
Belters, yeah. I think that it wouldn't surprise me at all. And no judgment. I mean,
do your thing.
You got to do what the world's bleak. Find your pleasure where you can.
Especially in 2099 when the humans have lost the war against the machines.
Totally.
No one's going to tell you not to get your find love where you can.
Yeah, and let Mouse watch. That's the important.
Then I guess you're dating Mouse. In a weird way.
Yeah. Don't touch me while I'm plugged into this thing.
Oh shit. That's next level.
You don't have to tell me that. He was like, yeah, well, I'm just laying there. I don't want you to get any ideas.
Oh man, that's just darkness.
Okay, so let's get back to the Matrix. Morpheus is going to take Neo to see the Oracle.
Yes.
We've heard the Oracle mentioned a few times up till now, but Morpheus thinks Neo's ready to go see her. So everyone goes in, and they're all in their coolest gear. And
I do love how they get all geared out when they go to the Matrix. Like, everyone looks rad.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
Sure.
If you can't, you just look how you want to. Why not? Full-length alligator trench coat with the green tie and the cool tie pin.
And Switch, all in white, looking super cool.
Switch is super dope, too. Yeah. And Cypher opens up his Nokia slider and then drops it in the trash can so the agents can find their position.
Son of a bitch.
And they take Neo over to see the Oracle.
Mm-hmm.
And they go up in like it's like a old school, like a apartment block.
Yeah.
And we've got all like the Akira kids in here, the ESPYs or whatever.
Exactly,
the Espers. Yeah, there's kids floating blocks and bending spoons. It's like...
And this scene was also borrowed in the Star Wars movies with the younglings. Like, it's just like so many things.
And Stranger Things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, these kids these kids show up again and again.
Special children.
Yeah, and there's the one little boy... a little Australian kid with a bald head, and he's excuse me, he's bending the spoon
It is not the spoon that bends. It is only yourself.
Yeah, that's such a Zen koan thing, that it's not the flag that's flapping, it's your mind flapping. Like, it's very, very Buddhist philosophy stuff. And Neo actually
Bends the spoon.
He bends the spoon, or he bends his mind around the spoon, like the kid tells him to. And it's kind of the first time we see Neo like do something extra in the Matrix.
Yeah,
like that's
not
beyond.
just move super fast.
Yeah,
and fight.
And he goes in to see the Oracle. Morpheus waits in the hallway basically because these are private readings when you go to see the Oracle.
Yeah, and she's been there since the beginning. Like, the Oracle is very old.
Yeah, and doesn't Morpheus say she's the first? She released the first people of the Resistance or whatever. She was the first one to release people and kind of begin the Resistance. And I should say, like, the Oracle is like Black Grandma, and she's very sweet and funny in that kind of like grandma way. She says, "Oh, you're cuter than I thought you'd be. I can see why she likes you." And he goes, "Who?" And she goes, "Not too bright though." And like, she's just like, she's clever and witty in that grandma way.
Yeah.
And you just instantly love the Oracle.
She's she's a little salty with her sweet. She's not all nice.
Not all nice. Yeah, she tells you things that you don't necessarily want to hear, but you need to hear. And she says, like, "Don't worry about the vase." And Neo goes, What vase?" And he turns around and knocks this vase over, and he apologizes. And she says, "I told you not to worry about it. But really what's going to bake your noodle is, would you have broken it if I hadn't said anything?"
Yeah.
And I think that's almost like the most important thing she says, because they have their little back and forth, and she talks about Morpheus and how everyone believes in him and everything, but basically leads him to the conclusion that he's not actually the one.
Yes.
Which is what he it's what he wanted to hear.
That's what he expects.
It's what he expects to hear. So he's almost sort of relieved. But it's the sort of thing where it's much like the vase, where she tells him the thing that he needs to hear to go down the path that he needs to go down. She's leading him by telling him he's not the one. She's making him the one by telling him he's not. The real question is,
would he have figured it out if she hadn't said it?
Yeah.
But she does tell him. She says that he's gonna have to make a choice between Morpheus's life and his own, because Morpheus is gonna sacrifice himself to save Neo. And without him, we're lost.
Yeah, because Morpheus is the rebellion. He's the resistance. Yeah. There is no resistance without Morpheus.
Yes, he is the top dog. And so when he leaves, he goes out there and meets Morpheus. And
he gets a cookie.
Oh, yeah.
Because she made oatmeal cookies.
I do love me some oatmeal cookies. Yeah. That seems like it shouldn't be controversial, but there's a lot of anti-oatmeal cookie people out there.
Well, some people think oatmeal cookies aren't cookie enough. They're too much like health food. But there's a assload of sugar in them.
Yeah, it does the trick.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's about to talk to Morpheus about his stuff, and he's like, "Nope, what was said was for you and you alone."
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to hear it because it doesn't matter. Morpheus already knows that Neo's the one. Neo's not going to change his mind.
Yeah. Morpheus is a true believer.
Yes.
He's unwavering.
He is a zealot.
And they go back to the hotel, and as they're going up to the room to go get on the phone and all zap back in, Neo sees the same black cat walk by twice, and he goes, "Whoa, deja vu. And everyone what? Freaks. Yeah, they're like, deja vu is a glitch in the Matrix. It means they changed something, and everyone starts kind of locking down, and agents start pouring into the building.
And you see the cops cutting the hard phone lines outside.
Yeah.
With these big cable cutters.
Yeah, and Mouse goes in to check the window, and the windows have bricked over because they've basically have locked them into this building. And Mouse pulls out like 2 big drum magazine
like Tommy
machine
guns. Yeah, they look awesome.
Yeah, and just goes down like the end of Scarface basically in a hail of bullets. And
so Mouse is the first to die from the Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah, because he's it's like horror movie rules. All of a sudden, the pervert always dies. So, because like Mouse he's been reading a nudie magazine this whole time, and he's the digital pimp, so he's the first one to die. Just, movie tropes. Morpheus is on the phone to Tank and wants to know where the main wet wall is on the building.
Yep.
And if people know, like, that's the wall the pipes run through.
Yeah, there's usually a wall, especially in like a multi-story building, where all the pipes run up in a column, and so like like bathrooms and kitchens and stuff will all have stems off that wall.
Yeah, and so they bust a hole low in the wall, and it's a pretty rough looking building, so no one notices a hole in the wall, and they start making their way down
through the wet wall. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's pretty cool, and I'm just like, oh man, this seems like it's gonna work. Except we already know that we have a Judas in here,
and he sneezes because he gets dust knocked on him, and he sneezes, which alerts the agents. There's people in the walls.
They're in the walls, and then they're just gunfire, like Boondock Saints level of gunfire.
Do you think Cypher sneezes on purpose to alert the agents, or is it just like a legit accident that he's the one that sneezes?
Oh, I think it's on purpose.
You think it's on purpose?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he could have held it. It's the Matrix.
Yeah.
He has enough control to know he's not really breathing those.
Yeah, he could just talk himself through it, that there is no dust.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
he's experienced. He's been around. He knows the rules. He could have just said, okay, there is no real dust here. This isn't a thing.
Cypher is a rat, after all. Neo kind of gets in a through-the-wall shootout with one of the cops, who I think turns into an agent then? Am I remembering that right?
An agent takes over the cop's body, and he then, like, reaches through the wall.
Yeah, and so
it's
Morpheus,
pretty crazy.
Morpheus heroically jumps through the wall to fight the agent.
Yeah, and he basically, this is his Gandalf moment. He's like, "Fight, you fools!"
It is his Gandalf moment.
Fights the Balrog.
Yeah, while the rest of them escape. Neo doesn't want to go because he thinks this is the moment.
Yeah, he's like Aragorn.
It's the moment that the
Are they all the same movie? Like, we just watch the same thing over and over again.
Mythology, the monomyth is very real. Like,
it's really awesome. It's always good.
It's not always good.
Okay,
when it's good, it always works when it's good. Is kind of how it is. He thinks this is the moment the Oracle told him about, where Morpheus is going to die and he can save him.
Yes.
But Trinity like grabs him by the ankle, and they just fall down the tunnel. Yeah. We get a brief shot of the bathroom from Dark City. I don't call out every time they reuse a set because it's constant.
Yeah.
But I was like, there's those green tiles. Like, I was waiting for it.
We get some fight with Morpheus versus the agent, and Morpheus is holding his own. He's pretty fucking good.
Morpheus is badass. I love Lawrence Fishburne so much in this movie, and just in general. He's always great. Yeah, but he can't beat Smith.
Nobody can.
Yeah. Well, no one yet. And then Smith basically serves up Morpheus, and then lets the regular cops come in and just beat him down.
Yeah.
And it's sad. It's rough.
And then Cypher exits the Matrix and murders the crewmates. He grabs a big, crazy, like, lightning zapper gun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he gets to a phone first and gets out. Yeah, and zaps them. Because somehow in the fall or whatever,
he got separated on purpose.
He purposely gets himself separated so he can get back first.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he takes out Tank, and he kills Dozer, and
he does some villain-splaining.
Yeah, because Tank had given them coordinates. Trinity had called in and said, like, we need to exit, and he goes, well, you're not far from Cypher. I sent him here, but Cypher beats them to the punch. And then when she gets there, she talks to Cypher on the phone, and he goes around and kind of like, gives her the, I thought I was in love with you. He's an incel, gross. Yeah. And he starts unplugging people. He unplugs APOC.
Oh, I hated that.
Oh, it's rough. And then Switch too, because like you kind of see it, like APOC happens suddenly. He doesn't expect it. Switch
understands what's about to happen.
Yeah, and she's like, not like this. And then he unplugs her and she just drops, like, like they took the battery out. And, and he's kind of leaning on Trinity. He asks her, like, do you believe it that he's the one? And, she says, yes, I do. He's like, well, if that was true,
I couldn't do this.
Then I couldn't kill him. And he goes to unplug Neo. And Tank's not down yet.
He grabs a lightning zapper gun.
Yeah, and blasts the shit out of Cypher. Mm-hmm. So, rules of storytelling and everything, that really basically tells us he is the one. Like, he is he's plot armored, and you can't kill Neo here.
Well, and we learn later that the Oracle told Morpheus he'd be the one to find the one, and she told Trinity that she would fall in love with the one.
Yeah.
And so we have, this makes a triangle, right? Mm-hmm. Morpheus found him and she fell in love with him. Must be the one.
So he becomes the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it has
to happen.
All the pieces come together, so that makes him the one. Yeah.
Do you think so basically like their power, and we learned in Matrix 4, yes, it's absolutely, it's not within him, he is like the alchemical creation of all the ingredients.
Yeah. The magic combination is Trinity and Neo together.
There's no one. There's like, it's like
they're
the one.
They're a dyad in the Force, like Kylo Ren and Rey.
Exactly. It's all the same.
Yeah. So now we're back on the Nebuchadnezzar, and we've got a tough choice to make because Morpheus has the access codes to Zion in his head, and the agents have him.
And they're interrogating him.
Eventually, they will break him down and get the information out that they want.
And so they have to debate if they're going to kill him.
Yeah, they could just end this by unplugging him, but Neo knows from what the Oracle told him that would be the end of the Resistance because he is the heart of the Resistance. Yeah. So Neo's like,
I'll go get him.
Yeah, plan B, I'll go in there, kill everyone, and get him out.
And Trinity's like, yeah, we'll go in and get him.
I think this is like she has a lot of like power moments.
Yeah.
But when she pulls rank on him here, like, I love this scene. So I almost cry. Like, it's so good because he's like, he tells her, like, he's like, no, you can't go. It has to be just me. And she's like, no. And she turns around on him in that way your wife will turn around on you when you said something stupid.
When you say, calm down, and they just turn around, not calmed down. It's like, that's supposed to work.
Yeah. She turns and she's like, no, you're going to tell me no? She's like, I'm the ranking officer on this ship. And like,
is the wife the ranking officer?
in the ship called your house?
Yeah.
Yeah, usually. And so, yeah, he backs down wisely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And they go in there and get geared up.
I love the line, I need guns. Lots of guns.
Yeah. Just miles of, just shelves and shelves of guns. And they get all geared up and get ready to go assault this building.
And we get a cut to Agent Smith interrogating Morpheus, and I love it. Hugo Weaving delivers this amazing monologue. It's so good. He's like, I hate this place, this zoo, this prison. It's just like so amazing how he hates how humans smell.
Yeah.
And he wants to end the Resistance because then he won't have to come back to the Matrix.
Yeah, he'd rather just be one of those squids floating around.
Yeah, he doesn't want to do this bullshit. He wants to exist in the real world.
Yeah, and
he's the opposite of Cypher.
Yes. He wants to be out of the Matrix. Yeah. And he has the great line about he's like classifying humans, how they're not really mammals because mammals
they're
found
a virus.
Yeah, mammals find a natural equilibrium in their ecosystem, but humans extract all the resources and then have to expand into more space like a virus.
Yeah, so good.
It's really good, and it's like
it's pretty accurate.
It's accurate. I think the thing that he's missing is it's the matrix. It's the systems that people are trapped in that make people like that. Because people are just animals like anything else, but they get into systems. So the matrix is what makes people toxic, basically. Yeah. The internet makes people... Like, trolls exist because the internet is there.
Yeah, I mean, before the internet, trolls were just that asshole who's yelling at the bus stop.
Yeah, before the internet, all people were good.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone remembers those times.
Yes.
Yeah, but, but he's not quite breaking Morpheus yet. Morpheus is not... He's not giving up.
He's still holding up.
Yeah, he's very, very fucking tough, basically.
And then we cut back to Neo and Trinity, and they're going through like the entryway to this office building, this high rise, and he walks through security with just so many guns on him. It just like goes red, and then it has this awesome gunfight. It's really cool. Like I never noticed it before. This watch that the SWAT cops are armed with M16A1s, which is an interesting Vietnam era version of the M16. Okay. Because it's got a differently shaped handle and a differently shaped like foregrip. Okay, it's just like it's really interesting because that version of the rifle is a little more slick. It's a little less tactical looking, and it looks a little more smooth, which really plays into the smooth, slick look of this movie.
Do you think that's just an aesthetic choice, or do you think that is because they're in Australia and that kind of gun would be more accessible?
It's probably because in Australia they had access to a shitload of these props. It's just we have 40 of these, and they're all identical
from shooting like Vietnam movies and stuff. Yeah.
And they're all black, and you just clean them up so they're not dirty and don't look jungle used, and you're good to go. Yeah, but I just thought that was pretty cool. And this scene, I love the guys with the combat shotguns because they do so much work blowing up the marble pillars, and so there's just debris in the air, and it's all slow motion, so it's just like floating.
It's very evocative of the tiles blowing up and everything is evocative of the spider robot scene in Ghost in the Shell. And it's just like it's just really cool to see those sort of visuals realized in a live action setting. Yes, and the combat shotgun stands out because Trinity gets a hold of it and does work with it for a while too. Like
I want to get one of those, like in real life.
I actually do too. That's I don't own a gun, but that is sort of the gun that I would want to have. Like it seems,
I think we're like middle-aged dudes.
They're not that expensive.
Yeah, we should just do that and go out and have some fun.
It's just like
hunting ducks.
Yeah, like hunting
no, like hunting targets.
Yeah, the clay ones or whatever. You fling them.
Those are really fun. Have you ever done that?
Not flying. I've shot them like
on the thing. Yeah, it's really fun when they fly. It's not actually that hard.
No, and they're biodegradable, so you don't have to go pick them up.
Yeah. It's just clay.
Anyways. They destroy all these security guards because they're just security guards. No agents are there yet. They set a bomb in the elevator and then go up on top and shoot the cable off and zip to the top.
All this shit, this is all pre-proto prologue John Wick shit.
I do need to see those movies.
It's like, and if you like any of these fight scenes with Neo, this is all John Wick shit.
I think they're all on Amazon now or something. One of the streamers has the John Wick movies, so now I can...
We should do an action series, a short one, I don't know.
Or Keanu.
A Keanu series. Well, I mean, we've already done two Keanu movies at least. Bill and Ted's also.
We have not done like the first Bill and Ted.
That's true.
We could do Bill and Ted, Point Break.
Ooh, that's a great movie.
Speed.
Yeah, it's all right.
I mean, none of these, they're not good.
Point Break is good.
I love Point Break. I'm not gonna say it's a good movie. It's ridiculous.
I mean, this movie's ridiculous.
Patrick Swayze like surfs off into the sunset at the end.
Patrick Swayze is amazing.
He is. That's a good. I love that movie. But okay, enough of the Keanu tangent.
Do you think anyone who's listened to this for over an hour is like not up for a Keanu tangent?
I think that's all. The only reason they're here. If you don't mind, or if you have a problem with tangents, you gave up on us a long time ago.
Yeah, like episode 1.
Yeah,
because we have an episode 0 where there's not a lot of tangents.
It was very focused because we didn't know we could do tangents. Yeah.
There's no one to rein us in. All right. Anyway, so they get up there. I love the elevator cable ride. It looks really cool.
Yeah, he gives it one time. He's like, "There is no spoon," before he shoots the thing. Because he's gonna have to bend physics.
Yeah, and it's so cool, like how the fire bursting out of the bottom with the door skipping forward. It's like really great effects work. I just thought that was so cool. And then they get to the roof.
They get up to the roof, and this is the scene, right? Like where we get the bullet bending scene, because we get the old fashioned Western standoff between Neo and one of the agents,
Agent Blank.
Yeah,
whatever.
The uncharismatic agent, and
imagine that's you're that dude.
You're the not Hugo Weaving guy.
Get another role.
Yeah, he's saying,
I was in the Matrix.
I was one of the agents in the Matrix. And they're like,
there was only one agent.
I know who Hugo Weaving is, and that's not you. He's like, no, I was the other agent.
There are 3 agents.
I was Agent Johnson. I don't think there was an Agent Johnson.
Only one agent.
He's like, I do the cool thing, and I dodge the bullets. And they go, I think that was Hugo Weaving.
Totally screwed.
Yeah. Because Neo tries to shoot the agent.
He just dodges it.
And then the agent, starts shooting at him, and Neo dodges bullets like an agent.
Does it too. And I love it how Neo's dodging the bullets, and then Trinity just shows up and smokes him in the head. Just boom, out of nowhere.
And Neo does get grazed twice. Like he catches
imperfect.
He catches one on the thigh and in the shoulder. And then Trinity, like you said, she's like, dodge this, and blasts him in the head. Because at point blank, there's nothing they can do to get out of the way.
And then they grab a helicopter, and she's flying it, and Neo's on the minigun.
Yeah, because Tank real quick uploads her with a pilot program for a helicopter.
And then they're like flying down, and it's just, I love the way this is shot with the falling brass and links from the belt-fed gun. It's just so cool. It's
really good use of slow-mo and speed ramping, like changing the pace of the camera in order to prolong the tension of the scene. And even as fast as the agents are, even they have a hard time dodging a rail or a minigun like that.
Yeah, they ice Smith, and then he takes over a cop who's in a hallway.
And Morpheus, gets his second wind, breaks his handcuffs, and runs, and he goes to jump out the window, but Smith shoots him through the calf. So he doesn't make the jump. Neo jumps off, grabs him midair. We get some real stunt work of guys hanging off a helicopter that
like hugging each other.
It's so good because it's like, now you would do it all digitally, and you wouldn't have those real shots kind of cut in there between the digital shots, but those real shots anchor the scene in reality. Like it gives your mind a sense of weight and everything, and so you believe the CG more because there's the real shots cut into it. They fly off. The agents shoot the helicopter, so it's losing fuel, right?
Yep.
Neo drops Morpheus onto a rooftop. Then he kind of lands on a rooftop too, and then sets himself up to catch the helicopter like a
Yeah,
boss.
because he's holding the strap that was holding that's attached, and the helicopter goes down, and he's like, "Okay, I'm just gonna hold up the helicopter, no big deal."
Yeah, and Trinity grabs the other end of the strap, shoots the link or whatever, the ring that's holding it on, the D ring, flies up. The helicopter crashes, and it epically destroys all the glass on this building. I love
the glass ripple effect before it shatters, like the concussion of it.
That's very anime too.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And then Neo like catches Trinity and pulls her up.
Yeah.
And I love Morpheus's shit-eating grin as he like looks so proud of the two of them.
Like, you did it.
And he's like, yeah, I told you this was the one. Like, it's really, and he says, now do you believe me? And it's like, yeah, he's so happy. And Neo's like, but the Oracle told me I wasn't the one. He's like, she told you what you needed to hear.
Yeah.
And he just can't stop smiling. Like he's like a proud dad.
Exactly. Yeah. It's definitely proud dad vibes at that moment. And so then they exit the Matrix. Morpheus and Trinity exit the Matrix, and Smith ambushes Neo right then before he can exit as well.
Yeah, they make their way down into the subway station from Dark City.
Yeah, same place.
Why build another subway station when you got one? And Agent Smith takes over a homeless guy in the subway station, and he shoots the phone before Neo can upload. And they're watching on the monitor. They're watching the green code, and they want Neo to run. And Neo's like, he's feeling his juice now,
like,
he's done with running. And we have the epic Neo versus Smith fight scene.
Yeah, the fight scene that you've been promised since the very beginning. The first time you hear Mr. Anderson.
Yeah.
And this might be the best fight scene in the movie. It rivals the dojo scene. It probably surpasses it. It's so good.
And at this point, like the I don't know, not the dramatic tension, but like the crescendo that we're building to in this movie, like you're riding really high. Like this is when action movies are doing their thing.
Yeah,
you're in it. Like this is like edge of the seat. You just like can't get enough of this fight while it's happening, and the people on the ship, they can't do anything. They can just watch while this goes on. They fight all over the subway station, and ultimately Smith almost seems like he has the upper hand on Neo, and they're down on the subway tracks, and he calls him Mr. Anderson, and he gives the "my name is Neo" moment. He smashes him into the ceiling of the subway station, and then does a flip off the tracks and lets the train take out Smith, and it feels done.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, he won.
Yeah, but then the train opens up and a new Smith walks out because he can just take over anybody.
He has infinite lives.
So Neo wisely chooses to run away now.
Yeah, and so he's running away. The agent's chasing him, and
and the other two no-name agents show up too.
Yeah, just Agent Johnson and whatever. And then he's running away, and Smith shoots him in the chest a few times, just for the fun of it.
Yeah, like basically they go back to the hotel from the beginning of the movie.
Because they own the set, they might as well.
And it's got landlines, so it's like they got to go back to the hotel. Smith cuts him off, so he's waiting for him when he gets there in the room, because it's not his first rodeo.
Yeah,
and he shoots him, and for good measure, shoots him a few more times.
Yeah, just boom, 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 boom. Just
Neo goes down, and he flatlines.
And at the same time, a group of Sentinels is attacking the Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah,
and
or they're on their way. Like Morpheus says, they have like 5 minutes till they get there, and they have the EMP ready, but they want to get Neo out.
Yeah, because if they EMP while he's in, that's it for him.
And even though Neo is flatlined, this is when Trinity gets in close, and we have all Wachowski movies have the power of love will save us moment.
They do.
And
love is all you need.
Love is all you need. Because they're ultimately, all their movies are like hopeful fantasy movies.
Yeah.
And so, Trinity tells Neo, you can't be dead because the Oracle told me that I would fall when I met the one, I would fall in love with them, and I'm in love with you, so that means you're the one. And Neo's like, that's all I needed to hear.
Yeah. It's kind of like, it reminds me of like when Hulk Hogan is down on the mat and everyone starts chanting.
He needs the Hulkamaniacs to get him pumped up.
He got the Hulkamaniacs. And so then he's revived. He has newfound abilities. He's walking around. He just sees the code in the walls.
Because he finally got there where he's fully... He just sees the Matrix as it is at all times. The agents start shooting at him, and like Morpheus foreshadowed earlier, because he said, he said, "Are you telling me I could dodge bullets?" He said, "I'm telling you that when you awaken, you won't need to." So he just stops the bullets.
Yeah, and they don't really exist. So he just stops them, and he just goes and what the fuck owns Smith.
Yeah, just for fun. Smith is not expecting this. He beats the shit out of him. Kung Fu kicks him down the hallway, and then for just to insult to injury, jumps inside of him.
Yeah, he leaps and dives inside of him, and then flexes and explodes him out of him.
Yeah,
and the walls flex back with the explosion. Yeah, it's pretty rad.
And Neo finally, after he's done showing off, remembers that there's a time.
I can't just fuck around in here.
There's a time limit. He needs to get out of the Matrix. So he goes and gets on the phone, and they set off the EMP, and they kill the squids who have fucked up the Nebuchadnezzar.
They're inside.
Yeah, they opened it like a tin can, and they're just about to start killing people when they finally flip the EMP. But this is still... Morpheus still feels like it's a "I told you so" moment. Basically, is like everything went according to plan.
Yeah, no big deal.
My ship is destroyed. We barely made it out alive. Half my crew is dead. But I love it when a plan comes together.
Yeah, and so then it cuts back to the Matrix. Neo makes a phone call, and he tells them he promises the machines that he'll show the prisoners a world where anything is possible. Basically a lingering threat, and then he flies away like Superman.
Yeah. Rage Against the Machine plays, roll credits. I love this movie.
Yeah, great movie.
It's so good. It's like, at this point, I'm just like, you're so wrapped up in it at this point. Like, you're just on the ride, and it just...
You can't not root for Neo. You can't not love Trinity and Morpheus and like all of them. It's just like I feel like a connection with these characters
to everyone.
Yeah,
including Smith. Like Smith is just as much a part of the
he's
magic.
So angry about it, and it's like he's. It's important that you had a hateable villain.
It's like, and this is something. I think this is something the Marvel movies get wrong a lot, is that they make the villain too relatable to the point, like say like you're Killmonger, where you're like actually is he the good guy of this movie? And then you're like have him choke a lady or shoot his girlfriend, so he's bad.
Give a monologue where you agree with 90% of it, and then the last bit of it say something racist or whatever.
Yeah,
it's like what?
And I feel like that just feels off to people, like when that happens. Whereas Smith is just...
He's pure.
He's a purely evil villain that you can empathize with and like enjoy, but they never undercut it by making him goodish or...
No reason for that.
Yeah. This is how you do it. Like, for everything, this is how you do it.
Dang, 2-star movie coming up. All right, so then how about what worked for you?
Okay, I didn't want to rehash what I had said for Matrix Resurrections, but all of that stuff still applies. So just
Go listen to another 3-hour podcast.
Metatextual storytelling, chemistry between Keanu and Carrie Ann, and the R rating. Those were the things I called out about.
Okay. Is this also R-rated?
Yes.
All right. For violence?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it doesn't deserve it. It wouldn't get one now. So, my new what worked for me, Lawrence Fishburne and Hugo Weaving. No surprise. I love both those guys so much. They're just great. Every scene they're in, they're great. Lawrence Fishburne is the heart of the movie, and Hugo Weaving is a delicious villain. Every time one of them's on the screen, I'm like, oh yeah, here they are. Here's my favorite. Number 2, Jeff Darrow's conceptual designs and Steve Scroce's storyboards. Part of why this movie is so tight is that Scroce visualized the entire movie. Like, if you look at the storyboards, you could play the audio along with them, and like they conceptualized the whole movie before they shot it.
Okay.
And that makes it just drum tight. It's not a lot of like, we'll figure it out while we're shooting and shoot a bunch of shit you don't use.
And then cut it in.
Yeah. They knew exactly the movie they were making, and it always shows. It's a super tight movie.
All right.
Yuan Wu-ping, choreographer, Glenn Boswell, stunt coordinator, and Chad Stahelski, the stuntman, that Keanu Reeves stuntman. They brought this sort of Hong Kong style action into an American production film, and like really showed us something we hadn't seen before, and it's good. It's really good. That's what I got for what worked for me. What worked for you?
So I'm way more vague than you. You have a lot of calling specific individuals out.
Yeah.
So I think that the overall style of the movie, the look, and that kind of encompasses the costumes and the set design and the lighting. Just the appearance of the movie, the way how everything plays together, and you have a stark contrast. You instantly know when a scene cuts that it's in the Matrix.
Yeah.
You just know it.
Everything has that green wash.
Yeah, and then when they're in the real world, you instantly know it. I feel like the appearance, the visual cues are just on point with that. It's hard not to call out the casting. Every character in this movie just pulls weight. It's just so good. Like, there are no throwaway characters except Agent Johnson.
We should look up what his name is.
And I think that I just think that Hugo Weaving, Lawrence Fishburne, Carrie Ann Moss, of course Keanu Reeves. It's just the casting for this movie is insane and next level. It's hard to even the guy that played Cypher is just excellently hateable villain.
So that they originally wanted Will Smith for Neo.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
interesting. I'm glad they got Keanu. I
am too. Like, it's a different movie with Will Smith. Like,
I wonder why he didn't take it, and he kicked himself in the ass.
He did, and then his wife is, of course, in the next one. Yeah, but he didn't understand it.
Oh, okay.
Like, he didn't get the philosophy and stuff. He couldn't get his head around it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so then my last point was already covered by you, by your storyboarding comment, but specifically I just said the pacing. This movie moves right along. There's no wasted scenes. It's really tight. It's extremely engaging the whole time. This isn't a movie where you're looking at your watch. You're not pulling out your phone.
Yeah.
It's just...
And it's over 2 hours too.
Yeah, it's got you. The Matrix has you. It's just, you're just engrossed in this movie. It's so good.
It's Agent Brown and Agent Jones.
Oh, Johnson was close to Jones. All right. Well, those guys. All right. So what didn't work for you?
I got one.
Okay.
And I think it's that the Wachowskis put maybe too much faith in the audience.
Oh.
We talked about this earlier about the red pill people on the internet
who don't get it. They're like the people who root for the rebels in Star Wars, but then they actually are on the side of the Empire in real life.
Yeah, exactly. They're like those people, and like the Columbine shooting was a month after this movie came out, and so like. There's a way you look. I think it's too close together to say that one inspired the other, because those kids had that planned out
for a
long in advance, and maybe they hadn't even seen the movie yet because they're high school kids and they don't get to go see movies in the theater when they come right out. But there's something about the imagery in this movie of them like walking to that building in their trench coats and just gunning down people, random people, that the wrong kind of people latch onto.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
And take a toxic message out of it rather than that love and all of
yeah,
that,
because it's ultimately like that's the climax of the movie is about the power of love to save everyone, right?
Yeah.
But there's certain people that are like, yeah, I'm a red pill person. I see the real reality, and
I kill motherfuckers.
Is that white men have it too hard nowadays? And like, you know what I mean? Like, so I just think I don't know what
I'm going to quote that. That's going to be
that's the title of the episode.
No, that's your epitaph. White men have it too hard nowadays.
Obviously, if I died.
That is not the title of the episode.
And I don't know what they could have done differently, because I feel like the messaging is strong.
Yeah.
But
Make it less smart, dumb it down, provide a pamphlet.
What we believe by the Wachowskis. No. So anyways, this is not really a true criticism of the movie, but it's a criticism of the people that have latched on to the movie and pulled the wrong message from it.
All right.
What didn't work for you?
So I don't have a lot here, but if anything, I think that it's a little too strict to the hero's journey by the book, predictable pacing. Like, this is the beat where the hero is called to action. This is the beat where the hero doubts his power. Yeah. This is the beat. It's called the Dark Night of my soul, or whatever. Or this is called the lowest of the low, or whatever the beat is called, where the hero is down, but they're not. They see him out, and then they have to rise again. The storyboarding and the pacing and the writing is extremely by the book. Like, if you watch, not to get super geeky on it, but if you watch Brandon Sanderson's, he's a lecturer at BYU. He teaches a fiction writing course. When he gives like a 2-hour lecture or whatnot on how to write the hero's journey. He literally paces out The Matrix and Harry Potter at the same time, because they're the same thing, and Luke Skywalker. And so it just, I like the hero's journey, but it doesn't really flip any of the tropes. It keeps it straight up. Not
to like push back about that, but I think that is what gives such a vehicle to talk about the philosophical ideas that they want to discuss.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, because
it familiar vehicle.
Because it has that. And same thing with Star Wars, because Lucas had politics that get lost too. The hero's journey is just so relatable to everyone across whatever background that you accept whatever philosophy or politics are going along with it, because you're just along for the ride.
Yeah, you're the messaging is window dressing at that point.
Yeah, if you don't want to see it, it's ignorable.
Sure. And that would be my only criticism, and it's not even really that big of a deal because I like the hero's journey.
Yeah.
Everyone does.
Can't help it.
So, what's your final thoughts and your rating?
I've said it a few times. I'll just keep saying it. This is a perfect movie.
All right.
It's a 5-star. It's a 5-star movie. I have no criticisms of The Matrix.
All right. So I likewise gave it 5 stars. It would be hard not to. And you would be surprised at a lot of the ratings across the metaverse are not in universal agreement with us. There are plenty of places that give it a... like IMDb gives it an 8.7. Didn't even crack 9. Rotten Tomatoes is an 88. Very similar. But then Metacritic gives it a 73.
Oof.
Which is below a 4-star movie. I highly disagree with that.
I'll tell you why this happens. When something is this successful and so influential as this, it becomes cool to cut it down, to tear
sure.
it down, because nothing can possibly deserve this sort of unequivocal praise.
So they'll just look for the things that are bad.
Just like all the videos you find on YouTube that talk about how Dark City is actually the superior precursor to the Matrix.
Yeah.
And again, I like that movie, but no. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just not.
It's just not. It's not better than this. Really, what is?
Blade Runner.
Maybe. I think the difference is Blade Runner's not fun.
Oh, well, I like sad shit.
Yeah, fair. Blade Runner is sad. It's a melancholy movie.
I like that.
Yeah. It's a great film, but it's not like...
It's not triumphant.
Not triumphant. Yeah, Blade Runner, it ends and you're like, well, they got away.
You're like, damn, that was dark.
Is she just going to die? And like, what's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, this movie, you're like, oh shit, Superman, yay!
Yeah, he can do whatever he wants. Rage Against the Machine is playing and it's awesome.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, this ended really well. All right, so let's take a break and then we'll come back and do our final segment.
Welcome back, divers. It's time for our final segment, the one where I ask Dave, what are you into right now?
I'm going to go with an audiobook.
Oh, nice.
This one is, I referenced at the beginning of the episode, William Gibson's Neuromancer.
Oh, cool.
I just finished it the other day, and then this is probably going to surprise some people, but I immediately started it again.
Oh, wow.
I finished it, and I was like, my mind is blown at this moment. I'm going to listen to this again, and I'm going to listen to this harder. It's so fucking good. So if you don't know, Neuromancer is a 1984 science fiction novel by William Gibson.
Mm-hmm.
And he's from Vancouver, British Columbia, so it's not far from here. And it's basically considered one of like the progenitors of the cyberpunk genre.
Yeah.
It's the only novel to win all 3 awards, the Nebula Award, the Philip K. Dick Award, and the Hugo Award. And this was his debut novel. And it's the beginning of the Sprawl trilogy, which I've already bought. I want to listen to Neuromancer again before I go in on Count Zero.
Did you listen to the short stories, the John Mnemonic and that stuff, that the precursor stuff? Okay.
Yeah. And so it's set in the future. It follows this guy called Henry Case, who's this washed up hacker for hire who's got a burned out brain, and he actually he gets fixed and he comes into contact with a powerful artificial intelligence. And so it's really spacey. Like, this is not like the Matrix cyberpunk. This is like thinky cyberpunk, like worlds within worlds and shit.
Yeah.
It's really super fucking good. And if you like cyberpunk, I think that you should check out Neuromancer. It's really good. And I'm going to listen to it again. I'm only a couple chapters in the second listen. And then I'm going to listen to the other 2 books in the trilogy, and then I'm going to look for more, because this William Gibson guy, there's something to him. He's got a way with the words. Like, the thing is sometimes I find myself when I'm just sitting there and listening, I just think, oh my God, that was beautiful, the way he described it. And I haven't thought that way about a writer, that the way they write is absolutely beautiful, since I read the book The Name of the Wind. And that's a fantasy book that is also just utterly beautiful prose that like is poetic prose. And it's just like, that's how William Gibson writes. He writes in a way that makes you think like that word selection was perfect.
Yeah.
And so I highly recommend it to anybody who's interested.
Yeah, I haven't actually read or listened to that book, and it's been on the list since we did our Giant Mnemonic episode, because I listened to the collection of short stories that had the Giant Mnemonic story in it, and really liked it. Like, it's very good. There is Vancouver, our neighbors to the north. There is a Pacific Northwest inflection to his writing. Like, some of the language he uses and everything feels familiar, but the Canadians are just a little foreign. So there is just sort of just a tinge of the exotique on his writing. I really like it.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. So how about you? What are you into right now?
I'm going to give a sort of a mixed review of something. Not a literary classic that stands the test of time and defines a genre, but a movie I watched recently, and I was very affected by it, but I'm not going to give it a ringing endorsement at the same time. And that's Clerks 3.
Oh, I hadn't seen that. Is that out?
It's
obviously you saw it.
Yeah, it's available to stream now, but you buy it on Amazon. It's like $14.99.
Okay.
But it's yours. It's not a rental. It's a keeper.
Oh, okay.
And it's the third movie in the Clerks trilogy.
Do you think you got to watch 1 and 2 first?
I have seen 1 infinity times.
Yeah, me too.
2 I saw once in the theater, and that was plenty. I knew who everyone was. There was one character where I was like, I don't remember this guy, and then it's like, oh yeah, he's from Clerks 2. No, you don't need to rewatch them, and you might lose all your enthusiasm for Kevin Smith movies by rewatching them. So you're better off just to have your nostalgia and jump into this. And it's we catch up with Randall Graves and Dante Hicks. At the end of Clerks 2, they ended up buying the Quick Stop, and now they own it.
Okay.
And they're just still living the same life that they've been living for like the last 30 years. And then Randall has a massive heart attack.
Oh,
and mirroring what happened to Kevin Smith in real life, because Randall is his character that's like his
analog
avatar.
Whatever.
That's the word I'm looking for. Randall's his avatar in the story. So like, he had a massive heart attack, Randall has a massive heart attack, and that makes Randall want to do something with his life. And so he decides to make a movie about the convenience store, and he makes the film Clerks from the first movie.
Oh shit.
And it's very much like,
it's very meta.
It's very meta. It's very much a Kevin Smith sucking his own dick Ouroboros sort of thing. Which Jay and Silent Bob Reboot was also like that, where Jay and Silent Bob Reboot rehashed Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Okay.
And so that's sort of the thing that he's doing now, is revisiting his older movies and commenting on them in new movies.
Okay.
While also following the beats of the original movie. And so sometimes it's just unbelievably dull. Like, you're like, God, it's just the same jokes. And what was sort of charming when he was in his 20s now is like really pathetic as these guys are approaching 50.
Yeah.
And you're just sort of like, ugh, this is not funny anymore. But then the sort of B plot around Dante is crushingly sad. Like, it is.
Wow.
And so it's like the movie, it just kind of
now I'm interested.
It goes back and forth between like, oh, really? We're doing these same jokes, to like, I'm like bawling. Like, that's stuff with Dante. And like, Dante's always been my avatar, right? Like,
okay.
I always have identified with this guy, and like, he goes through shit in this movie. And
man, I always thought I was like Randall.
Yeah, you're the Randall and I'm the Dante. that is accurate. That's, yeah, because Dante is the one that's somehow duped into being the manager of the convenience store, right? Where it's like, you're the more responsible of these two guys, so you're in charge, and it's like, but they're just two dumb kids. Yeah. Just one is more guilt driven than the other one. Anyways, I was really like like really hurt by a movie hasn't hurt me like this since Jojo Rabbit.
Oh shit.
And so I was like, well, fuck. Parts of this movie are the most boring shit I've ever seen. And then it like guts me in the next scene. So it's like, it's not a good movie, but when it is good, it's exceptionally good. So if you are a Kevin Smith aficionado, you've probably already seen it. And if you're on the fence, I think it's worth watching.
Okay.
But it's not a great movie, but it's an affecting movie.
All right. Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, I kind of want to see it. I don't know if I want to pay $15 to see it, but
it'll be, I mean, if you hold out, it'll either be available to rent when it's not still in theaters or whatever.
Sure.
Or, one of the big streamers will grab it. Netflix.
Yeah, somebody
Netflix
will pay for it.
Yeah. Just wait.
Yeah. All right. So how about everybody out there, subscribe to us on your favorite podcatcher, as well as YouTube, Spotify, and Audible. Don't forget to leave us a review. 5-star review costs you nothing, but means everything to us.
You can, our new episodes of Nick and Dave Deep Dive the Metaverse drop the 1st and 15th of every month, and you can find us on all social media platforms across the Metaverse as at Deep Dive the Meta. We are on Twitter, despite Elon Musk buying it out. Ooh. We are on Facebook, despite Mark Zuckerberg being an alien monster, and we are on Pinterest, despite no one using it.
Well, I guess this is really goodbye.
Don't say goodbye. Say good journey.